Hey guys. Part 10 of What If Naruto was sealed and woke up after 2,000 years. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 30. Do not touch the button. Location: Citadel. Musashi came too fast. He was pressed up against a wall by bodies. His bakken was still in his hand. He pushed them off and stood up. The warehouse was half a wreck. He could smell smoke. There was an alarm blaring in the distance. His Omnitool alerted him to an emergency signal to CSCC personnel. He ignored it. He had a job to do. He started searching the bodies, looking for the huntress. The more he looked, the more he didn't find her. He found a blood trail and heard someone gasping. He followed both and found the huntress limping. Going somewhere? He called out, making her stop. She didn't have her gun. Good. She turned around, charging her biotics. But she felt her legs break and pain overwhelmed her senses, making her fall down. She almost missed the wooden sword shrinking back to the human. He approached her, watching for any signs she would attack. She tried lifting her arm. He broke it with another slash. As much as he wanted it, she didn't cry in pain. She looked up at him with arrogance. She still thought she could get out of this. Don't bother, he told her. You're going to die here. No, she said, forcing the words past her pain. You're going to take me in. That's what you do. He had rules and protocol to follow. He'd take her in and then she would be released after she was treated. As a cop, I'd do that, he agreed. But I'm not a cop right now. Your tribe killed one of my men and thought you could get away with it. Time to make an example of you and show that you can't do that. He brought the bakken up, channeling his chakra through it. For the first time, her eyes realized the situation she was in. He was glad for that. This is going to be slow and painful, he told her. You're going to scream. To her credit, she tried to hold out. But it only lasted a minute, too, at that. Her screams echoed throughout the ruined warehouse, mingled with the sounds of bones breaking and flesh being cut. But it was lost in the chaos the Citadel was currently engulfed in. Ow! That was Naruto's first conscious thought. His body hurt. That was really all he could say about it. It wasn't the kind of pain one might have gotten from a broken arm or leg. It was a gentler kind of pain, if it could be called that. To him, this was the kind of pain he got after sparring with Sakura when she was irritated and took it out on him. He blinked a few times and his vision cleared. What he saw looked like the ground and nearby wall had suddenly gone skyward. Why are they like that? He asked himself. Then he realized that more important things needed to be found out. Everyone's still alive, sound off, he ordered the rest of the Mako. Here, sir, Ashley declared from where she lay. Breathing, Rex answered. Keela, what happened? Talia asked, shaking her head to get the cobwebs out. What the hell did I drive us through? Gurus asked from the driver's seat. I am still here, Liara stated. Same here, Maya chimed in. And listen Sheila, not that I'm opposed to your position, but can we save it for later? Naruto turned his head to see what the hell the swagman was talking about, only to see Liara lying on top of her. The Asari blushed and tried to apologize while scrambling off of her. I am sorry, she said. I didn't mean to. Would you do that later? Rex growled at her. Out of all of them, the Krogan looked like he was fine. He was even still in his seat. Ow, did anyone get the number of that shinobi who hit me? Shikaka asked. I have no idea, Isaba told him. Anyone else? He asked. Not a clue, Sun answered. But we did get hit by something, right? Komi asked. I think so, Matatabi told the Nanabai. Then what was it? Look, I'm still trying to understand how my tails got like this, so give me a little more time. Sun, get your hand off of me. It's keeping me pressed down, Saiken told the Yambi, sounding more annoyed than hurt. That's not my hand, Sun said back. Then whose is it? Sorry about that, Gyuki apologized as he pulled said hand off of the Rokubi. But how could you not recognize that was my hand? Pardon me if my head's a little rattled, the slug said acidly. Not so loud, please, Kokuo pleaded. My ears are ringing. I'm not loud. I'm barely above whispering. Then why does it sound like you're shouting? Seriously, why? Asked the Gobi. I don't know, see? You're doing it again. Would you people shut up and get your bearings already? Kurama demanded of the other 8 Biju. And that makes all 9, their Jinchuriki thought from where he lay on the ceiling of the Mako, looking down at his chair. And Gaki, stop lying around like that as if you're on vacation, the fox said, turning his chastisement onto the blonde. You came here to do something important, remember? For a moment, he didn't remember. Then it hit him like a building falling on top of him. Saren, they were there to stop Saren from succeeding. Who's closest to the hatch? He asked. I am, Tali declared as she got onto her feet. She went over to the hatch. She got it open and the semi-darkness of the Mako suddenly had ruddy light filtering in. The entire team wasted no time trying to get out. They all tried to get out at the same time, which caused a blockage. Once they figured who went out first, it was done in a more orderly fashion. That was more successful and they crawled out of the Mako more quickly than before. Once they were all out, they stood up at their own speed and looked around. Well, it worked, Rex stated as he looked at the Presidium. It was not the same Presidium they were all used to. A mixture of nature and structure that was peaceful and calming to the eye. While some of that was still there, the rest was on fire and looked to be in shambles. It was not a pretty sight. Maya looked around, trying to get her bearings. But with everything a wreck, it wasn't as simple as she wanted. Anyone got any idea on where we came out of? She asked. I think we came out of that, Tali answered, pointing at the relay monument. There was a faint trace of blue around the rings as they slowed down and finally stopped moving. Now where are we supposed to go now? We have to follow Saren, Liara told the swagman. I know that, Sheila, but where did he go is what I'm asking. Did that Prothean 6 give you guys any ideas on where to go? Well, he said that Saren will try to find the master control of the Citadel. And where is that? Gurus looked at her with a frown. If we knew, would we be standing around here like a bunch of idiots? He asked shortly. You are a bunch of idiots, Rex stated, rolling his eyes. His statement made everyone else look at him with anger and annoyance. What? I spoke the truth. How are we idiots? Ashley asked him, restraining the urge to pull out her weapon and shoot the Krogan. It was tempting, despite their situation. Think about it. What is the one place in the Citadel that is its own thing, both easily accessible and defendable, and has a view of the rest of the structure itself? He asked them all, looking each in the eye. His words seeped into their minds and made them start to think it over. They thought hard thanks to the Presidium burning around them. Tali answered him. The tower, the master control is in the tower, she declared. That's right, Rex said. So, they only had to answer the obvious question. So how about we get over to the elevators leading up to the tower? You all heard the Krogan, Naruto said to them. Let's move it. They started moving away from the Mako, glad to leave it behind. The further they moved through the Presidium, the more landmarks became familiar. Soon they were able to get on the right path to the tower elevators. All it would really take was a quick hustle to them. Maya had a question as they hustled. How the hell did you know it was the tower? Maya asked Rex. It just made sense, he answered shortly. It could have been a number of places. Name one, he told her. She looked at him for a long moment and said nothing in reply. That's what I thought. If you guys want to get noticed by any hostiles and have a firefight on our hands while trying to get to Saren, please keep talking, Ashley said to them both. They were in a war zone. They had to pay attention. Maya threw her a look. Are you kidding, mate? Odds are we'll have to start fighting our way to Saren sooner than we might expect. She snapped her gaze to the swagman. Don't jinx us, she said in a half-warning, half-pleading voice. What was that about talking? Knock it off, you two, Naruto said without looking back at them. They arrived at the elevators and found one waiting with the doors open. They all piled in and waited for the doors to close. Silence was paramount in the car as it rose up towards the tower. But it was broken when they heard that the speaker come on. Oh no, Gurus groaned. In other news, whatever the reporter was going to say to them disappeared when Rex lifted up his shotgun and fired off a round. The speakers died in a garbled drone. Everyone looked at him. Everyone was thinking the same thing, he said shortly as he lowered his shotgun. You know he's right, Shikaka chimed in. Naruto ignored the tanuki, even if he was on point. Everyone, check your gear, he ordered. He inspected his Black Hawks, looking them over to see if there was any damage. The elevators soon became filled with the sounds of guns being checked and pockets being examined. No one said a word. The elevator car came to jerking halt, abruptly ending the check. What happened? Liara asked, hand pressed against the side to hold her balance. She was surprised the car had stopped. The elevators on the Citadel never stop. They might be long and boring, but they didn't stop. If I had to guess, I'd say Saren locked the elevator, Tali said. That was a problem. Hopefully it was one that could be fixed. Any chance you can unlock it? Naruto asked her. She opened her Omni tool and started scanning the system. After a minute she closed it and shook her head. No, it's a complete lockout. The only way to get the elevators unlocked would be to get to the master control unit. Is there any way out of this elevator? Well, there is one way, Gurus said, looking at the glass window of the elevator. Everyone looked at the window along with him. You had to jinx us, Ashley told Maya. She had nothing to say back to that. Naruto looked at the window, then at Gurus. Are you sure there's no way else out? He asked. Pretty sure, he replied. CCC has done drills on these doors. The only way we're getting out of them is with some very good and very specialized equipment. Which they didn't have. Alright then, one Rasengan coming right up, he declared, holding his arm out. That could kill us, Tali immediately protested. We don't know if we're up against a floor level or not. If we're not, the explosion that comes with your jutsu could backlash on us. He lowered his arm, seeing the point the Quarian was making, albeit with a grumble. What do you have against the window? Gurus asked him. There's no air out there, he answered, pointing at the window. And in case you haven't noticed, I didn't think I was going to need the armor. Oh. It was the only thing the Turian could say. It was a well-known fact that the Spectre disliked the armor he had, only wearing it when it was absolutely needed. And since they had come to the Citadel from a breathable planet, he wasn't wearing the armor. Fortunately for Naruto, Maya had the answer. Hey, Commander, she said, getting his attention. Catch. She tossed something at him. He caught it with ease. It was some sort of face mask that would cover his lower face along with his nose and his ears. There were tubes that came out of the ears and led down to a small canister with a monitor built into it. What is it? He asked. It's a rebreather, she told him, bringing out another one and hooking it up to her face, dropping the canister behind her back. It'll help you breathe outside the elevator. Okay. He didn't know how the thing worked and they didn't have the time to see how it worked. But there was one question he had. Why did you have two? One of the first things you learn as a swangman. Be prepared and keep a spare. Seeing as he didn't have a reply for that, and one wasn't needed, he copied her actions and hooked the rebreather up. He placed the canister at his side and activated it, letting the oxygen flow from the machine to his nose and mouth. Alright, let's move, he declared, pulling his hood up. Everyone shot the glass, shattering it instantly. Maya was the first one to take the step outside. For a brief moment, she floated in space. But then her feet landed on the side of the tower, showing that it still had gravity. Whoa, she said, looking downwards at the Citadel. This is a little weird. It felt like watching a waterfall from the cave behind it. It was pretty but looked different. The others followed her out. They could all see what she was talking about. They also noticed the view of the tower looked incredibly different. It wasn't so much a tower now as it was a long road with a lot of stuff in their way. This might be problematic, Sun commented. Gurus had something else to say, staring upwards. So this is what the Citadel looks like when it's closed. They all looked up to see what he was seeing. The arms of the Citadel were sealed together but the lights hadn't been shut off. It made them like they were in a womb of lights. People, we have to go, Naruto said, impatience edging his voice. That shook them out of the silence they were in. They started moving quickly towards the top of the tower. It wasn't long until they ran into trouble. In fact, it was right after they had gone down a slope into a tunnel when an elevator raced right past them only to stop. What the hell? Said Ashley. The elevator burst open and smoke poured out. Geth emerged from the smoke. It quickly became a firefight. What in the name of the spirits are they doing here? Gurus demanded over the gunfire. I thought the elevators were locked. Saren has control of them, Tali reminded him. He decides whether they come up or not. Kami, take it. I should have placed a guard around the elevators. Naruto swore as he slowly made his way forward, his black hawks firing the entire time. The others followed as he pressed forward. They couldn't afford to stay in one place and fight the Geth off from there. They had to risk it and keep going. Every time Naruto got close to a Geth, he would destroy it with a few quick strikes of his guns. It was an effective tactic and was aided by the fact that the rest of the team kept the rest of the Geths suppressed. They were out of the tunnel in 5 minutes, but that didn't mean the troubles were over. More Geths stood in their way and they weren't alone. Rex, take care of the Krogan, Naruto told the battle master. Fine, Rex said, charging his biotics. He threw them at the enemy Krogan. They struck true and the Krogan was knocked off of the tower's surface. He floated in the space and Rex ended him with a few quick shots. Thank you, the blonde said as he pressed forward, killing any Geth that got in his way. There was a smaller number here so they were able to get through quicker. They took the turn to the right, only to stop. That is a lot of shields, Maya stated. She wasn't joking around either. The ramp was practically swamped in energy shields. The Geth were lying in wait behind them. If this turned into a pitched battle, it would become very difficult to get through, which was why Naruto didn't intend to let it be won. Everyone who's got grenades, use them, the Spectre ordered. Those who had them threw the grenades at the barricades. There was no sound when they exploded, but they did create a big enough hole in the barricade. Again, Naruto took the lead, opening fire as he went through the hole. The Geth had the high ground and made it difficult for them. But they refused to stay in one spot. They couldn't afford it. On your left, Maya! Shouted Tali as she decked a Geth with her skirmisher's hilt. Maya spun to her left, saw the Geth, and took it down. Thanks, mate! Maya shouted back. Look out, sniper! Naruto shouted in warning, ducking to avoid the sniper fire. He glanced upwards. The sniper was at the top of the ramp. Ash, take him out, on it! Shouted Ashley in return. She fired one round to get it out of cover and another to take out. It took 10 seconds. He's out! They pressed on, taking out the remaining Geth as they moved, but when they made a turn, more Geth were in front of them. Did Saren know you were coming and put these guys here, or was he that paranoid? Matatabi wondered. Most likely it was both, Koko answered. The guy was a Spectre after all. It comes with a certain sense of paranoia, and he knew that Naruto was hunting him. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Naruto said to them both as he led the team around another corner. A large turret practically dominated the next area. He watched it wearily as they approached. Why would the Citadel have a turret on the side of the tower? He asked aloud. Probably for situations like this, Liara answered. It made sense if enemy ships got past the Citadel fleet and attacked the tower. I doubt that this would be the only one. Well, here's hoping we don't have to use it ourselves. Incoming dropship! Shouted Maya in warning. As the Geth dropship flew in close, Rex said something to Naruto. We have a saying on Tuchenka. Speak of the Thresher Maw and the Thresher Maw shall appear. Ooh, I like that, Isabu commented. Me too, Sun agreed. Naruto ignored them in favor of the problem. Tali, do me a favor and get that turret working. He ordered the Quarian. The dropship settled overhead, right in view of the turret. Either the Geth were that confident they weren't going to shot or they were that stupid. Right, she said, going for the console behind the turret. Her Omni tool came on and she started working fast. The Geth landed and started coming towards them, guns blazing. They fired back, mowing down the first couple of units. But more kept coming down from the dropship. The biotics started using their abilities to even out the fight. It worked to a degree. The dropship remained an issue. How are we doing, Tali? Naruto asked her as he shot down a Geth. Almost there, she replied. It was easy to ignore the firefight when her focus was on her work. A light on the console began to flash, and she started swearing. No, you don't, you fucking Bosch-tet. What's going on? Ashley asked her while firing off a round. Saren knows what I'm doing and is trying to lock me out of the console. Then stop him. What did you think I was doing? Tali, just get the turret going. Naruto shouted at her. The Geth were about halfway to them and more were coming out of the dropship. I'm working on it. She shouted back, her attention completely focused on the console. Rocket! Yelled Maya. They all ducked at her warning. The rocket flew overhead, smashing against the wall, or floor, depending on one's sense of standing, behind them. When they came out of cover, Gurus took notice of something. Some of the Geth were splitting off. He quickly tracked their path and realized what they were doing. Some of them are going for Tali. He warning, already aiming for them. Shit! Liara swore. She changed direction too, throwing her biotics. But her throw was wide, missing the Geth completely. Damn the goddess! Maya flashed a look at her, smiling a little. Whoa! Who knew you had a mouth on you, Shalia? She said. Don't flirt now. Rex told the swagman as he threw his own biotics. He managed to hit a few Geth, but not enough. Don't get your quad in a twist, Rex, she said back. Then shoot the Geth. I'm already shooting the Geth. To prove her point, she fired off 2 rounds, taking out 2 Geth at the same time. There, see? Ashley had a hard time believing that this was how they dealt with a battle. Ever since she joined, it seemed like every fight was also a conversation. People, focus on keeping Tali alive, she told them. She was focusing on the main group but kept an eye out on the small group, which, thankfully, was getting smaller. There, I've got it! Tali suddenly shouted, backing away from the console. The turret stirred to life, lifting up from its cradle. It saw the dropship and immediately opened fire on it. Tali took out her skirmisher and started shooting at the Geth coming at her. They fell back as she joined the others at the barricade. Nice going there, mate, Maya told the Quarian with a grin. Thanks, Tali said back with a grin as well. She was proud to have done something that helped. Another rocket, said Rex in warning, making them all duck again. Like the first, the second smashed into the wall behind them. Ashley looked over the barricade. Oh shit, she swore. She quickly started shooting, but it wasn't much. I've got 3 pieces of bad news, she told the others. The first is that the turret is taking too long to destroy the dropship. What's the second? Gurus asked. More and more Geth are coming out of the dropship. Damn it! That was the last thing they needed right now. And the third? The Geth on the tower are almost on us. They all looked over the barricade. The Geth were almost in striking distance of them. They immediately started firing again, hoping to push them back some. It was marginal. Only a few Geth units were destroyed by their gunfire. Finally, Naruto let out a frustrated snarl. We don't have the time for this, he declared. He stood up, all but ripped B's sunglasses off, and held out a hand towards the Geth. Shinra Tensei, heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent god. Everyone watched in stunned silence as the Geth were literally pushed back and fall off the tower completely. Those that hadn't been crushed by the Jutsu's initial push were swiftly taken care of by the team. But that didn't slow their shock at what they were seeing. Once the turret finally destroyed the dropship, they freely stared at Naruto and his eyes. His purple, ripple-like eyes. Maya summed up what everyone was feeling with 3 words. Holy fucking shit. Now is not the time for that, Maya, Naruto chastised her. We have to move. He started moving, stepping over the remains. His movement shook the others out of their shock. Sir, I am sorry, but this question must be asked, Ashley said as they went after him. When did you get the fucking Rinnegan? When I tore the Jubi out of Obito Uchiha, sealed it inside myself, and then spent the better part of 2,000 years fighting it out with said Jubi for control of my body before finally splitting it back into the Biju. He considered the sunglasses for a moment, and pocketed them. Since they already saw his eyes, he didn't need to hide them for the moment. The first time he had realized that he had the eyes that Nagato wielded was back on Thesha, when he had just awoken. While he had been complaining about the lights, he took a chance to open his eyes again, and against the medical table's shiny metal, he saw the Rinnegan reflecting back at him. It was why he had asked B's shades be repaired. Ashley was astounded. How could she not be? So, do you have all of the abilities? She asked him as they turned and saw a few Krogan ahead of them. They had all read the shinobi history books, and Nagato's attack on Konoha was a significant event. There was an entire section devoted to the Rinnegan, and what abilities it could wield. He shook his head. No, just the Deva Path's powers, and even then, it's not what Nagato had. He could do it with a wait period of 5 seconds. I've only managed to get to a half minute after working on it. He had spent multiple nights sending things away or bringing them towards him to get there. They must have heard the loud noises coming from his cabin when he had been practicing. But now they needed to worry about Saren, not his eyes. He opened fire on the Krogan, getting their attention. Understood, sir, Ashley replied, following his example. The enemy Krogan were dead within minutes. After they took the turn the Krogan, they saw a large field-like area with a lot of Geth. This is going to be fun, Rex declared with a grin. He started shooting, and so did everyone else. As the first few Geth fell, it got the rest's attention, and the firefight started. Naruto counted down the seconds as he fired his guns, pushing forward when he could. Once it was done, this fight would be a lot easier. At 18 seconds, one of the Geth managed to pierce the glass of his rebreather. Normally, he might have swore or jumped in surprise at the action, but both would have gotten him killed. Instead, he clamped his mouth shut. Thankfully, the other saw what happened. Son of a bitch! Cursed Maya as she all but dragged him out of the way of the firefight and behind one of the inactive turrets. Hold on, Commander. She started digging around in her pouches for something that would help. But she was coming up with nothing. Naruto started to feel his sight was growing dark. He was losing air. He reacted, thinking of one thing that might work. He channeled his chakra to his mouth and nose. The rebreather came alight with the blue glow of his chakra, and he began to breathe again. His sight snapped back to full clarity. Maya saw what he did and took a step back in surprise. What in the— Trust me, Maya, I'm just as surprised, he told her, his voice having a tinge of wonder. You've just created a whole new application for chakra. Wait, you mean you guys haven't done this yet? I was surprised that I got it on the first try. Usually, something like this took a few times for him. No. Oh, okay. Let's get back to the fight. His seconds were up. He stretched out his hand to the Geth. Shinra Tensei. They were pushed back, those in the front getting crushed by the jutsu's force. It gave the team room enough to move forward with great speed, covering more ground than they would have covered without his Rinnegan. As they moved, Tali took notice of the Geth turrets ahead of them, activated her Omni tool, and hacked into the turrets, easily taking control. Thanks for that, Ashley said to her as the turrets exploded. She nodded her head reply. They crossed the field, killing the rest of the Geth. Once they had been pushed back, there was no real line of defense, just a few units that were trying to stop them. It became glaringly obvious that the turrets were supposed to be the main defense on the field, and since Tali hacked them to self-destruct, that was no longer an option. And that's the last of them, Gurus declared as he shot the last Geth. They exited the field and found they were back on the elevator's track. There was also a door just ahead too. I hope that's the one we need, Liara said as she looked at the red lights on the door. Same here, Naruto told her as they approached. Tali, get it open. The Quarian activated her Omni tool. On it. She tapped rapidly on it, and within a few seconds had the door's lights turn green. There, it's open. They took turns entering. Just as it was a weird feeling coming out of the elevator onto the tower's surface, it was weird in the reverse, only with less of a chance of landing on one's feet. Those who went in first had to get out of the way quick lest they create a pileup. Once they were all inside, they took a look around. They saw good news and bad news. The good news was that they were in the top level of the tower, where the council met. The bad news was they could see the damage done to the place. By the spirits, Gurus swore as he looked at the destruction the room had suffered. Things that were grown were on fire and things that had been built had lost some of its structure, leaving debris all around the floor. Naruto had seen this kind of destruction many times, and while he had never gotten used to the sight of it all, he knew that they couldn't just stand there. Keep it moving, he said to the team as he dispelled his chakra and took the rebreather off. Even though it was full of smoke, the air felt better than the rebreather. Rex, you, Maya, and Ash keep a guard on the elevator door. I don't want any more surprise sneaking up behind us. Normally, the Krogan might have complained, but this wasn't the time to do that. Fine, he said. The three of them took the best defensive positions they could find near the door. The others moved forward, going up the multiple staircases that stood before. Of course, it wasn't going to be that easy. We've got Geth, Gurus said in warning. Don't tell me, I can see them, Naruto said back. Just shoot them. His black hawks were up and already firing on the few Geth in their way. It wasn't so much a fight as it was a run-by shooting. They reached where the council met, but they only saw a large electronic screen at the end of the platform. Saren was nowhere in sight. Where the hell is he? Tali demanded. As if to answer her question, the rogue specter appeared on his little hovercraft from below with a gun in one hand and a grenade in the other. Cover! Naruto shouted instantly. They all leapt to the walls just as the grenade was thrown. None of them were hit, but the explosion felt a little too close for comfort. I was afraid that you wouldn't make it in time, Naruto, Saren called out. For what? The blonde asked from where he was crouching behind the wall. He didn't dare look at the Turian, figuring it was a good way to lose your head. The final confrontation, he answered. I think we both expected it to end like this. You've lost. You know that, right? In a few moments, Sovereign will have full control of all the Citadel's systems. The relay will open. The Reapers will return. Not if I have anything to say about it. The Turian shook his head. You survived our encounter on Vermeer. But I've changed since then. Improved. Sovereign has upgraded me. He realized what Saren was saying. And he was shocked by it. Have you lost what sense you had left, Saren? You let Sovereign implant you? You don't understand, Naruto. There is a place for organics in the new order. The Reapers need men and women of action. People like us. I managed to convince Sovereign of your value. If you surrender to the Reapers, you will be spared. Join us and we can find a place for you. You mean like you are right now? With implants in me that would let any Reaper do whatever it wanted with me? He had seen enough of that with the Hyuga clan and its despicable seal, but Saren didn't see it like that. The relationship is symbiotic. Organic and metal intertwined, a union of flesh and steel. The strengths of both, the weaknesses of either, he declared. I am a vision of the future, Naruto. The evolution of all organic life. This is our destiny. Join Sovereign and experience a true rebirth. We would have a problem with that, Kurama declared. Don't go making it sound like I would join them that easily, his Jinchuriki told him. Saren, you can still do the right thing, he called out. Just stand aside, pretend you're not here, or something that would let me stop Sovereign and the Reaper invading. We can't stop it. Not forever, Saren replied sharply. You saw what happened to the Protheans. The Reapers are too powerful. People said the same thing about Obito Uchiha, and I'm still standing. In the name of Kami, Saren, try and remember why you became a Spectre in the first place. I am doing this because of why I became a Spectre in the first place. Then you must know that this is wrong. There is another way to beat these guys. We just have to find it. Even though he did not look to see it, Saren was suddenly uncertain. Maybe, you're right, he admitted quietly. Maybe there is still a chance for. Whatever he was going to say next was cut off by a sharp sound of pain from his own voice. The others wanted to move at the sound, but Naruto signaled them to stay in place. Saren, what's happening? He asked. Talk to me, the implants. Saren managed to say through the pain. Sovereign is too strong. He knew what that meant. I'm sorry. It's too late for me. He didn't like the resigned tone in his voice. Saren, don't you dare quit. Stay with me. But the blonde's words were like an echo. All he could feel was the pain. The only thing he heard was Sovereign telling him what to do. But he fought through the pain, focusing on the human's voice. Promise me something, Naruto, he said, his voice gasping out. Promise me that you'll find them. Promise me that you'll keep them safe. Naruto was confused. What was Saren saying? Who are they, Saren? He asked, only to get a cry of pain from the rogue specter. Saren, promise me. He all but screamed. Who are they, Naruto? Just say yes already. Kurama ordered. You're about to lose him. Yes, I will look after them. He declared, not even knowing who it was he was promising to look after. That was what Saren wanted to hear. Now he could finish it. Goodbye, Naruto Uzumaki, he said, his voice utterly calm. Thank you? Nihilus chose well. Naruto knew he was about to do something. He came out of cover and saw the Turian he had been hunting placed his gun beneath his jaw and pulled the trigger. His head snapped back as the gunshot cut through the mess of noise. He fell off his hovercraft to the garden below, shattering the glass ceiling. Naruto walked up the stairs and looked down. He and his team all saw Saren's body lying in the garden. He wasn't moving. Why would he do something like that? Geras said, his voice filled with disbelief at the sight. Maybe he finally realized what he was doing and decided to stop. Tali suggested. It sounded plausible to her, especially after the conversation they heard. Whatever the case, we have to keep going, Naruto said, focusing on the large orange screen standing at the end of the platform. When he reached it, he activated his Omni tool. His hand reached for it, only to stop just before it touched the keys. He deactivated the Omni tool. Tali, would you please take care of this? He asked the Quarian. I don't trust myself with something this complex. He didn't want to be remembered as the Spectre who blew up the Citadel. She didn't say anything that might have questioned his abilities with the Omni tool, as tempting as that might have been. She took the data file from him and then uploaded it into the control system. Once she got a beep of acknowledgement, she deactivated her Omni tool. It worked. We now have complete control of the Citadel's system, she declared. I've transferred all controls to you, Commander. Quick! Open the station's arms, Geras urged him. Maybe the fleet can take Sovereign down. See if you can open a communication channel, Liara suggested. He could coordinate a defensive strategy that way. That's a good idea, Naruto agreed. The second he opened the channel, it came alive with loud and urgent chatter. The Destiny Ascension. Main drives offline. Kinetic barriers down 40%. The Council is on board. I repeat, the Council is on board, the person on the other end all but shouted. Oh, that's not good, Coco declared. Normandy to the Citadel. Normandy to the Citadel. Please tell me that's you, Commander, Joker's voice spoke, coming through the channel. It's me, Joker, Naruto answered. Tell me you're bringing the firepower. Well, yes and no, he frowned. He didn't like the sound of that. What does that mean? Yes, I have the firepower as I am currently with the entire Arcturus fleet in the Endura sector. But even though I told the commander of the fleet what you told me, he's not going to budge until he gets proper orders. Of all the times I get stuck with a pig-headed person who stick to doctrine and regulation, this is the one time I don't need it. He mentally swore. Well, what are you going to do? Kurama asked him. It was a rhetorical question. He already knew what the blonde would do. Naruto threw his frustration into his words. Joker, tell the commandeering officer these exact words. Naruto Uzumaki is ordering him to come to the aid of the Citadel fleet. If he doesn't, I will hunt him down and rip him several new ones with a dull rusted kunai, and I will take my time with it. The others looked at him apprehensively. The image was a little disturbing. The Biju were more dismissive. You have spent way too much time with the Biki, Gyuki comment. He ignored the Hachibi, focusing on the channel. It took a few seconds, but Joker answered. I passed on the message, sir. He got the hint and is willing to go in. Just unlock the relays around the Citadel, and we'll send in the cavalry to save the Ascension. Are you really willing to sacrifice human lives to save the Council, Commander? Gurus asked him. Gurus, how can you say that? Liara asked the Turian. This is bigger than humanity. Sovereign's a threat to every organic species in the galaxy. That's just it, Liara. The Council must be sacrificed for the greater good, he said back. He looked at Naruto. Don't waste your reinforcements. Hold them back until the Citadel arms open up. Save the human fleet to attack Sovereign. That would be the right tactical move. He was sure any Turian officer would make it. What's the order, Commander? Joker asked, having heard the entire conversation. Come in now to save the Ascension or hold back? Why do you even ask, Joker? Naruto asked his pilot as he activated his Omni tool. I'm opening the relays now. Get in there and save the Council. Aye, Commander. I hope you know what you're doing, Commander, Gurus said. Of course I do. I'm thinking in the long term. Even though the words themselves sounded serious, the blonde had what some could say a mischievous or evil grin on his face. This is Admiral Hackett of the Fifth Fleet, the Admiral's voice said through the channel. We are joining the move to the Citadel, and I am taking over command. Alliance ships, move in. Save the Destiny Ascension, Commander, we're picking up reinforcements. Inasari said on the channel. It's the Alliance. Thank the goddess. The aforementioned commander said with relief in her voice. The next few minutes were tense for those in the tower. They couldn't hear anything over the channel or outside the tower itself. All they could do was wait to hear if the attempt was successful or not. Shouldn't we do something? Tali asked. Like what? Gurus asked back. I don't know. Something. There's nothing we can do, Tali, except wait. Normally she might have grumbled a little at such words, but now was not the time to do that. She held her peace and kept on waiting. But just because they weren't saying anything, didn't mean that the Biju were the same. Man, this is so tense you could cut it with a kunai, Shikaku declared. Thank you for stating the obvious, Matatabi said to him in a deadpan voice. Hey, someone had to say it. No, you didn't. I said someone, not me. It's always you, Shikaku. It's always going to be you. Actually, if he hadn't said it, I would have, Komiai stated, not sounding the least embarrassed. Really, Komiai? The Nibi asked the Nanabai. Why would you want to go there? Hey, someone had to say it. Thank you, Shikaku said to Komiai with a smug expression. Destiny Ascension, you are all clear, Joker's voice said through the channel, getting everyone's attention. Repeat, you are all clear. Thank the goddess. Liara breathed with relief. I still maintain that they should have focused on Sovereign, Gurus said with a little grumble. What have you got against the Council? Tali asked him. Come on, Tali, he said to her. How many times have they refused to listen to what we've told them or tried to stop us from doing what we were ordered to do? Enough times that I can count it on my hands with room left, Naruto answered without even looking back at him. Are you all right, Commander? Liara asked him, noticing that he was looking down at the garden. He didn't answer her, instead, going for the calm. Anything happening on your end, Rex? Not in the slightest, the Krogan answered. What about you? Well, Saren committed suicide. We've got control of the Citadel's systems, and the Alliance is currently saving the Council. What? Why would they do that? Because I told them to, he answered. He heard a grumble on the other end. You should have just let those pyjaks die. What have they ever done for you? See? I'm not alone here, Gurus said with a pleased expression. Gurus, I will find that priest, the blonde threatened the Turian, which promptly shut him up. The floor beneath their feet began to vibrate, catching them by surprise. Whoa, what's going on here? Tali asked as she held onto a nearby rail for support. It felt like the Citadel was trying to tear itself apart. I don't know, Gurus told her, hanging onto the same rail. Hey, what's going on around here? Maya's voice spoke through the comm. It feels like the place is tearing itself apart. We don't know, Liara said to her. Actually, I think I might know, Naruto said with one hand gripped on a rail near the screen. Before they could ask him what he knew, the chatter on the communication channel acted up again. The Citadel's opening, Hackett's voice declared over the channel. All ships move in. Concentrate on Sovereign. This is the Normandy, moving in for strike, Joker announced. As they listened for what came next, Gurus looked over at the blonde. When did you open the Citadel arms? He asked. The vibration stopped, allowing them to let go of the rails. When we were waiting to hear that the Council had gotten free, Naruto answered. Firing salvo at Sovereign, Joker announced. Overhead, they heard a faint, dull thudding sound. Negative impact, I repeat, that was a negative impact. Sovereign has some strong shielding. Fall back, Normandy, regroup with the other ships and fire again, Hackett commanded. Aye, aye, Admiral. The chatter died down again. Is there any way we can help them out there? Tali asked. The Citadel has defenses, I know that. They're probably some of the best defenses in the galaxy. Then see if you can activate those defenses, Naruto said to her, stepping to the side so she could have the screen. Just make sure to coordinate with the Alliance to make a better striking pattern. If you get blocked, tell them you're with me and acting with my authority. You got it, Commander, she told him, stepping up to the screen and activating her Omni tool. Liara, Gurus, you come with me, he said to the Turian and the Asari. Where are we going? Liara asked. To make sure Saren's actually dead. He leapt from the platform and down to the garden through the same hole the Rouge Spectre had made. They looked down the hole and then at each other. Do you mind if we take the stairs? Gurus asked him. They weren't shinobi. Liara could probably make that jump with her biotics, but he knew that he couldn't. Just get down here, he said back, his eyes already focusing on the corpse of Saren. He went over to it, and stared for the longest time. Here he was, the enemy that he had been chasing for months now. Things were over now, or at least they were supposed to be. You do know that he's dead, right? Sun asked. I have to be sure. For all I know, he fired a blank, and then decided to keep faking it by falling off his hovercraft through a glass window before falling on hard earth. He's dead, Naruto. Still have to make sure he's dead, he replied. The Yambi rolled his eyes. You are paranoid. One too many enemies playing possum after a place was destroyed to kill more of our forces will do that to a person. He's got you there, Shikaka said. You would know, Sun grumbled. Yes, I would, he said with a smug expression. It was a tactic he, and later on Suna, liked to use. Commander Uzumaki, come in. Hackett's voice came through the channel. I repeat, Commander Uzumaki, come in. He reached for the comm. This is Jonin Uzumaki. Is Sovereign dead? Negative, there's a highly effective shield around it. No matter what we throw at it, it just bounces off. I'm having one of my team activate the Citadel defenses. Coordinate with her on an effective plan of attack. We have already received word from your teammate. Aquarian called Tali, correct? Correct. Is Saren dead? Yes, that is the question, Sun said with complete and utter sarcasm. Not now, his Jinchuriki told him sharply. Saren is suspected to be dead. We are about to confirm. Commander, please explain. How is Saren suspected? He shot himself in the head with his own gun. I'm making sure that he is gone. Well then get to it, Kurama told him. Hackett, I'll get back to you with confirmation. He took his fingers off his ear, ending the conversation. Gurus and Liara came down the nearby stairs and saw him kicking the corpse. What are you doing? Liara asked. I'm making sure that he's dead, he answered, still kicking the corpse to see if it would react. You do know that there's a better way to do that, Gurus said. He pulled out his pistol and took aim. The Citadel began to rumble and vibrate, making them start to lose their balance. What's happening? Liara asked, holding onto a nearby tree for support. Hackett, is something happening? Naruto asked over the comm, only to get static on the other end. Hackett, are you there? Sir, what's going on? Tali shouted down at them. I've been locked out. I don't know. He shouted back up. Just get out of here. Head for Rex and the others. Commander, go! He thundered. She stopped, nodded once, and disappeared from sight. Now why did you send her off? Matatabi demanded. Do you not see what is happening all around us? He demanded in return. He, Gurus, and Liara were about 2 steps away from falling down to the ground and being unable to move. We don't need a 4th person down here. Uzumaki, what the fuck is going on? Rex demanded over the comm. Why is the Citadel trying to shake itself apart? I don't know, Rex, Naruto replied. Just stay there and keep watching the elevators. You don't need to tell me twice, and tell the others to not try and come up here. Keep them with you. Uzumaki, it's shaking so bad around here, we can't even move. So please stop giving stupid and redundant orders. Alright, fine. He disconnected the comm before he could get into an even longer argument with the Krogan. All around them, red bolts of lightning began to appear and then disappear, almost too quickly to be seen by normal eyes. They danced around the garden, drawing nearer and nearer to Saren's corpse. What's with the lightning? Gurus asked as he watched it dance. Neither Liara nor Naruto could answer. The lightning itself gave the answer. All the bolts that had been seen converged together over Saren and struck him. The corpse shuddered when it had been struck and was soon enveloped in a red mist. What the fucking hell? Shikaka said as he and the rest of the Biju watched. What is happening? Soon, the red mist began generating its own lightning. But it didn't act like a shield, lashing out if someone got close like Naruto had expected. Instead, its energy was turned inward and filled the corpse of Saren. The body began to shake and shudder as the lightning struck again and again. Before anyone could do anything about it, a shockwave sent them all flying. Naruto hit the ground face first and immediately thawed out. He was getting sloppy. He should have been able to avoid that shockwave. At least the Citadel stopped shaking, Gyuki noted. The blonde noticed when he got back on his feet. He also saw the reason why it stopped. Dear Kami, he breathed out as he looked at the Saren's corpse. There were only a few indicators that showed that the body before him was the Turian known as Saren. But as from those, the body had changed into something that could only be described as a zombie. Only the bare skeleton and the implants remained, glowing dark blue against the red light that filled the ribs of the dead Turian. I am sovereign, Saren's voice, mutilated into a mockery of what it was before, declared. And this station is mine, by the goddess, Liara said, horrified at what she saw. The Saren zombie swung its head at her. It leapt with surprising speed, its claws out and reaching for her. But she reacted, sending it flying back with her biotics. It landed on its feet and snarled hatefully. Both Liara and Gurus drew their weapons, but stopped when Naruto signaled. Save your ammo. I'll take care of this, he told them. He took a step to the Saren zombie, and it recoiled away from him and leaping away in a different direction. That was its last mistake. Bansho Tenin, heavenly attraction of all of creation, Naruto cried, stretching out one hand while holding a kunai in the other, infusing and sharpening it with futon chakra. Saren's corpse was yanked out of the air and flew straight to him. He swung and separated the head from the body. The only noise made was the kunai cutting through the bone. As the head flew from the body, both disintegrated with the same red lighting that gave the zombie a mockery of life. Naruto bit back a curse as the lighting stung his arm. Some kind of metallic screech echoed throughout the tower. What was that? Liara asked, her hands clasped over her ears. That was Sovereign, the specter told her with realization in his voice. We've weakened him. Which meant he had to take advantage of it. He leapt out of the garden. Again, Gurus was amazed that he could jump like that. Then it passed. Where are you going? He shouted up after him. To finish him off. He answered, heading straight for the glass window the council stood before. Tell the others to put the breathing stuff on and grab hold of something steady. He activated the communication channel again. All Alliance forces, this Jonin. A pause followed as he trailed off. Would they listen? He didn't know. Better the rank they knew. This is Commander Naruto Uzumaki. I want all of you to fall back beyond the Citadel. I repeat, fall back beyond the Citadel. Get to safety so I can deal with Sovereign. The chatter that followed was immense, but it was all sounds of acknowledgement and orders telling the ships to fall back. Satisfied that they had heard and listened, he turned off the channel. As he walked towards the glass, Kurama spoke. You're about to show off again, aren't you? How long have you known me? He asked. Fair point, he conceded. Thank you. Now could you please send me some of your chakra? If I'm going to show off, I'd better make it worthwhile, the QB grinned. You got it. As he felt Kurama's chakra course through him and take shape around his body, he smashed open a glass pane. The air shrieked past his ear as he felt his body be pulled into space. Instead of struggling, he leapt into it, changing the chakra as he went. The Alliance ships had fallen back as ordered, but they were still close enough to see something that would stay with the crews for the rest of their lives. A fox of titanic proportions emerging from out of nowhere, shining like a sun, and easily matching the size of the Reaper. With a roar, the fox grabbed hold of Sovereign, tore it from the tower, along with the tubes it had attached to the structure, and threw it out of the Citadel itself, away from the fleets around the station. The fox's jaw opened and a sphere of black and purple chakra began to form, growing bigger and more stable by the second. As they watched, some of the crew were able to see a figure inside the fox's head, holding his hands out at the Reaper. They could see his lips move, but had no idea what he said. It would only be after experienced lip readers taking a look at recorded videos to reveal the word he said. Baijudama, tailed beast ball. The jutsu flew towards the Reaper, striking it full on. It was sent flying back before being enveloped in an explosive orb that sent shockwaves through the space around the Citadel, causing ships veer off course. But nobody cared about that. Their attention was on the destruction of the Reaper. And when the explosive orb had faded away, they turned to look at the giant, chakra fox standing on the tip of the Citadel tower. All was only the beginning of what they had felt from the scene. Ever since the Citadel came under attack and she lost contact with Musashi, Rin was worried for him. At first, she was worried that he had been injured or killed when he hadn't reported in. But now that everything had calmed down, she was starting to wonder if something else had happened. It was something that stayed on the edges of her mind as CCC handled the attack's aftermath. They were handling damages, bringing people out of shelters, counting the dead, and dealing with possible riots. And it was only day 2. They weren't sure how long it would take, so as she and Shiramaru took a break at her desk, she let her eyes just wander. She had been dealing with shop owners for the past 2 hours, and more than once she felt the urge to bash their heads together, if only to shut them up. Of course, their businesses had been damaged in the attack. Everything had been damaged in the attack. She almost missed Musashi walking into the room. But once she saw him, her eyes stayed on him. She shot out of her chair and pulled him into the empty break room. Shiramaru followed and kept watch at the door. "Where have you been?" she demanded immediately. She looked him over, checking for injuries. He looked no worse for wear. "Hello, Rin. Nice to see you too," he said, like nothing was wrong. "Cut the crap, Musashi. Why didn't you respond to the general alert?" "Got trapped. Couldn't get out in time." She didn't like the way he said that. It seemed practiced. If she was going to guess, he would be telling Palin the same thing. "You alright?" He nodded. "I'm okay. I managed to take care of some business. Hajime's dead though." "Shit." He had been starting to grow on her. She focused on the other thing he said. "When you say business," the smile he gave wasn't exactly feral, but there was something about that said bloodlust was satisfied. "She's dead and she regrets coming after us." She knew what he meant. On the one hand, she was glad that cold bitch was dead. On the other hand, she didn't know what Musashi had done to her. That scared her a little. "You'd better get to your desk," she told him. "You've probably got a lot of shit to catch up on." "Yeah, you're probably right." He stepped around her and headed out of the break room. "Hey, Rin," he said at the door. "I'm glad you're okay." "Yeah, you too," she said with a little smile. She watched him as he walked away. Shiramaru gave her a look full of canine exasperation. "Shut up," she told her partner. 2 weeks. That was how long it took for the Council to receive the Systems Alliance ambassador, captain, and their own Spectre. Officially, it was due to the fact a lot of damage had been done to the Citadel, which meant lots of reconstruction had been to be done. But more than a few people, in the Alliance and out, believed it took that long because the Council had to speak with the leaders of their races about what exactly they had seen from the Destiny Ascension and how to react to it. But the Council did call upon Yudina, Anderson, and Naruto, who had his shades back on. They met in a private part of the Presidium since much of the tower was still being repaired and fixed. Naruto's team were close enough to see but far away not to interfere. Ambassador, Captain, Commander Uzumaki, Tevos greeted each one of them. "We are gathered here to recognize the enormous contributions of the Alliance forces in the war against Saren and the Geth." "War?" repeated Sun, sounding offended. "That was not a war. That was a minor conflict at best." "Not now, Sun," Koko told him. "Many humans lost their lives in the battle to save the Citadel, brave and courageous soldiers who willingly gave up their lives so that we, the Council, might live," Valerian said. "There is no greater sacrifice, and we share your grief over the tragic loss of so many noble men and women," Spiratus declared. "Laying it on a bit thick, aren't they?" Saiken asked rhetorically. "Particular credit must go to Commander Uzumaki, whose heroic and selfless actions serve as a symbol of everything humanity and the Alliance stand for," Valerian added. "And while we can't bring back those valiant soldiers who gave their lives to save ours, we can honor their memories through our actions," Spiratus said to the 3 humans. "Humanity has shown that it is ready to stand as a defender and protector of the galaxy," Tevos stated. "You have proved you are worthy to join our ranks and serve beside us on the Citadel Council." That was Yudina's cue. "Counselor, on behalf of humanity and the Alliance, we thank you for this prestigious honor and humbly accept," he replied, sounding very formal. "We will need a list of potential candidates to fill humanity's seat on the Council," Valerian told them. Tevos looked Naruto in the eye. "Given all that has happened, I am sure your recommendation will carry a great deal of weight, Commander," she remarked. "Do you support any particular candidate?" Kurama saw what she was doing. "Oh, she is good," she commented. "I know," Naruto silently agreed. By asking him for his recommendation, it was highly likely that the person he selected would be chosen. If said person failed at doing well in his job as a counselor, the blame could be placed on him. Fortunately, he knew that the person he had in mind wouldn't fail so easily. "Yeah, I do," he answered and pointed his thumb at Yudina. Both Yudina and Anderson were surprised by his choice. "Me?" Yudina asked. "Him?" asked Anderson. Deciding to answer his former captain first, Naruto turned to look at him. Anderson, I see you as a friend and I trust you to watch my back on the battlefield. But I would not trust you to watch my back in a politician's world. You are not a politician. Udina is a politician, and while he may be a few things I don't like, he's a damn good one, he explained. Anderson didn't say anything in protest or his defense as he listened. Once the blonde was done, the only thing he said was valid points. Tevos agreed with the sentiments. The ambassador has worked with the council before in the past, and we are familiar with his style and methods, she conceded. A little too familiar, you could say, Sporatius grumbled. Udina smirked. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet, counselor. I've been holding back, he promised. How long do you think he's been waiting to say that? Isabu asked. A while, Matatabi answered. I am certain that we will all learn to work together in time, Tevos said, ever the diplomat. Sovereign's defeat marks the beginning of a new era for both humanity and the council, Sporatius said with a voice full of pomp and ceremony. And we have you to thank for this, Commander, Valerian said to Naruto. It is because of you that we are standing here today. Yeah, well, I didn't do it out of the goodness of my heart, he said, surprising the other 5 people there. Tevos hadn't expected those words. It made her concerned. What do you mean by that? She asked. I could have very well have let you die, but that wouldn't have done anything useful. But I gave the order for the Destiny Ascension. So, one could say that I had saved your lives. Yes, that is true, Sporatius agreed. He didn't like where this was going, but he didn't know what the blonde would say next. Naruto's mouth morphed into a smirk that was both mischievous and deadly at the same time. So, in essence, you 3 all owe me one, he declared, looking at the 3 counselors. And believe me, if I want it, I will intend to collect. Kurama began to laugh evilly. I have trained you well, Gaki, he stated happily. Tevos, Sporatius, and Valerian all shared looks with one. It was true, what he said. He had saved their lives, and by going with his frame of mind, they did owe him a favor. But it was that last part made them nervous. In all the years since it had been formed, no one has ever declared that the council had owed them a favor, and now, a human was doing just that. What's more was the fact they had a feeling that he would do as he said. Oh, and that reminds me, the subject of their thoughts said, breaking their concentration. They watched as he signaled 4 members of his team. They came forward, carrying 4 large crates, and placed them in front of the now 4 counselors. What are these for? Valerian asked him. Hey, I told you that I would bring tubs of sand for you lot. There you go. He turned around and walked away, leaving them there with their sand. Ashley waited until they were out of earshot before she spoke. Was that really necessary, sir? She asked as they left that private part of the Presidium, heading to the more public one. After the shit and disbelief they put us through? He asked back. Yes, alright, making sure. They rounded a corner, and saw a Turian specter waiting for them by a nearby wall. Do you have to annoy the council like that, Naruto? Nihilus asked the blonde. As it had turned out, the Turian had awoken while Naruto had been on Ilos and was in the midst of his recovery when Sovereign and Saren attacked. The hospital had been one of the last buildings to have been attacked by the Geth. Because of that, he and many other patients were able to be taken to safety. Hey, they threw the first salvo. I'm just returning fire, Naruto told him with a grin on his face. That's not a good excuse. It's one I plan to use, he declared. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Nihilus rolled his eyes, but there was no exasperation or annoyance in the gesture. No, I guess not. I still can't believe that they made you a specter while I was unconscious. We couldn't exactly wait around for you to come out. But I still made a damn good specter. Not denying that, Nihilus assured him. But tell me, did the other specters throw you a party for joining the ranks? Party? There was supposed to be a party. He didn't remember that. No, they didn't. What? We have to fix that right away. And he was going to find out why there wasn't a party in the first place. His fellow specters better have good reasons. To be fair, we did have to go on our mission right away, Tali said, choosing her words carefully. She figured that since Nihilus had been Saren's apprentice at one point, it would not do to bring up his name. Still, this needs to be rectified, the specter declared, walking away with purpose in his stride. Okay, you have fun with that. Just let me know where to go when the time's right, Naruto called after him. He looked at the rest of the team. The same goes for you guys too. Until we get a new mission, we're on all leave. So go and enjoy yourselves. You don't need to tell me twice, Rex said, walking off right away. That was fast, Liara said as she watched the Krogan leave them. He didn't even say goodbye. And neither are we, Maya said, grabbing hold of the Asari's hand and leading her away. Come on, wait, Maya. she protested as she was practically dragged away. Where are we going? To find a hotel room so we can do various kinky things to each other, the swagman declared with a grin on her face. Everyone watched silently as the two disappeared from sight, faster than Rex. Did she have to say that out loud? Ashley finally asked once they were gone. Probably, Gurus said nonchalantly. Besides, we know that Liara isn't protesting about what they are going to do. It was no secret aboard the ship the two were sleeping together. She didn't say anything. Exactly, he said. You know, he has a point, Gyuki remarked. When did you become the love sage? Matatabi asked him with a raised eyebrow. He looked back at her with a confused look. I never said that I was. I just said that Gurus had made a good point, and that sounds suspiciously like something a love sage would say. You're being ridiculous. Is she? Komi, I asked. Yes, the Hachibi replied. To me, the one who's the love sage amongst us is Kurama. Oh, trust me, I'm not the love sage, Kurama said once they started looking at him. That would be our Jinchuriki. Whoa, don't bring me into this. Naruto instantly protested. And what the hell makes you think that I'm a love sage in the first place? I'm sorry, but who was the one who was taught by the self-proclaimed super pervert? And who was it that got Maya and Liara together? Sun added in. First off, just because I was trained by Jiraiya doesn't mean I actually learned anything about, that from him. We know, Shikaka said with a grin. Secondly, I didn't do anything to really help Maya and Liara. I just gave them a little push. Naruto, you followed an idea of Shikaka's and locked them in a room together, Saiken reminded him. I mean, for the love of Kami, you listened to Shikaku. Hey, right here, the Tanuki said in protest. Why do you think I said it? Well, I'll head out and find a place to drink, Gurus said. Anyone want to join me? Sure, Tali said. It could be fun. And she felt certain that there would be no discrimination against her, since she was one of the heroes who saved the Citadel and all. I'll go too, Ashley agreed. Actually, Ash, could you stay a moment? Naruto asked as they were about to leave. She paused and looked back at him. Is something the matter, sir? I just need your help with something, that's all. Okay. She looked at Gurus and Tali. You guys go on. I'll catch up with you. Alright, we'll see you at Flux, the Turian said before he and Tali left them alone. So what do you need my help with, sir? She asked, standing in front of him. Nothing looked wrong to her. Well, I probably should have asked this sooner, he said, sounding a little embarrassed. Asked what, sir? He reached up and took off the shades, showing the Rinnegan. How exactly do you turn off these? He asked, gesturing at his eyes. She looked at the eyes and then at him. This was why he was embarrassed. Actually, she could see why. Sir, why haven't you asked me sooner? She knew how to do what he was asking. She did have the Sharingan after all. But the question remained the same. We were all a bit busy going after Saren and then helping out with the Citadel, he answered. It kinda slipped my mind. Plus, I still wanted to train with it. Oh look, she's restraining the urge to roll her eyes, Saiken remarked. How can you tell? The blonde asked him. You can't see it? It's painfully obvious. Painful for you or for him? Asked Kurama. Remember, we're talking about the Gaki here. Fair point. It was uncalled for. That is what it was, Naruto stated. Pay attention to the woman Gaki, the fox told him, like he was unimportant to the conversation. Hey, I'm talking here, and I'm telling you to pay attention to the woman in front of you. You should do it at least once in your life. Again, uncalled for. He said. Again, pay attention to the woman. Commander, do I have your attention? Ashley asked him, looking him in the eye. He pulled himself out of his mind at her voice. Yes, sorry, he told her. I was just having a conversation with my inner demons. Really, Naruto? Asked the QB. Are you willing to go that low? You started it, furball. You know, that might just be the first time I've ever heard those words said in that kind of context, Ashley remarked after a moment of silence. Yeah, it probably is. She really didn't have anything else to say about it. Perhaps we should return to the matter you asked me about. That she could do. Yes, let's do that, he agreed happily. Alright, have you noticed that there's a small amount of chakra being channeled into your eyes? She asked him. He went silent, looking for what she was talking about. Oh yeah, there it is. It was so small, I didn't even notice it, he remarked. She fought the urge to roll her eyes again. He's probably going to be the only person I know of who can actually say that, she thought to herself. All you have to do is stop that chakra being channeled. Easy enough, Naruto declared, cutting the channel off. She didn't say anything back. She was too busy watching as the purple of the Rinnegan disappear and replaced by the sapphire of a deep blue sea. She averted her gaze almost instantly. Merciful Kami, those things should be forbidden jutsu. Hey, did it work? He asked. Yes, it did, she told him. Take it easy, Ash, she told herself, still avoiding the eyes. He knows how to take the jutsu off now, you're going to have to get used to seeing them. Oh good, he said with a smile. Thanks, Ash. He put the sunglasses in a pocket. What will you do now, sir? They were on leave and she was curious. He shrugged. I'll just walk around for a bit. You go have fun with Gurus and Talia at Flux. He turned and left her there, walking off into the Citadel. She watched him go for a couple of moments, and then she went in a different direction, heading for Flux. He must have been wandering around the Presidium for a half hour or so before he finally saw a redhead trying to haul a large piece of something. Hey, you need help with that? He called out, unable to see the face due to it being obscured by the something. It looked like a piece of sound equipment. Yeah, if you don't mind. A woman's voice replied, sounding strained. He went to her side quickly and grabbed hold of the equipment. It was heavy, catching him a little off guard. His grip was wrong and it was liable to drop out of his hands. Here, let's move it over there and set it down, he said, leading the way a small patch of gardening that had a wall around it. He didn't hear any disagreements from the other side, and he didn't feel any pulling in the opposite direction, so he took it as a yes. Once they reached the wall and put the equipment down on it, he looked at who he was helping. She looked like she was from the elemental countries, but there was something else familiar about her. Do I know you from somewhere? He asked with a puzzled frown. The redhead rolled her eyes. Have you been living under a rock for the past couple of years or something? She asked him. No, but I was sealed inside a large one for about 2,000 years. A myriad amount of emotions passed through her face, going from confusion to disbelief, and then, once she actually looked at him, shock and surprise. Oh sweet merciful Kami, she breathed out all in one breath. You're him. You're Naruto Uzumaki. He nodded. Yeah, that's me. She stood up straighter when he spoke. It's a great honor to meet you, sir. My name is Kushina Uzumaki. I was named after, well, your mother. She said that last part in a bit of a mumble, feeling embarrassed about it. Oh, I'm pretty sure that there were plenty of women throughout history named Kushina, he said. He looked at her again, this time more closely. Then he realized where he had seen her before. You're the Kyuubi from that band Biju. He grinned. You know, I know a certain fox that would like to complain about that. She paled, feeling very nervous about where the conversation was going. Would that fox find it acceptable if I said that I went with his title to honor him and you? I knew it! Kurama declared in a loud voice. Yes, it would, Naruto said. So, why are you hauling a large piece of equipment around? Well, we came to the Citadel to make our new album. But with everything that's happened, things got destroyed or misplaced, and we had to send out for replacements. I'm not one for just waiting around, so I'm helping out with the moving. That's good of you, he said, making her smile. So, do you still want some help bringing this thing to wherever it is you're going? Yeah, of course, she replied enthusiastically. I mean, it's not every day you get to meet a famous ancestor of yours. The rest of the group wouldn't believe it until I show them. All right then, we'd better get moving. They grabbed hold of the equipment and started walking again, this time with her leading the way. By the way, I know a little girl who's a big fan of you guys. I think she's almost dying to know the answer to a particular rumor. What rumor? Did you really punch the Krogan in your band to get him to join? No, she answered. I headbutted him. You're an Uzumaki, alright, he declared. She laughed at that. Chapter 31. Oh look, Space Pirates. Location: the Normandy. Omega's coming up into screen range, Joker announced as he flew the ship closer and closer to their destination. Man, the place looks as foreboding as I've heard. It looked like a titan waiting in the shadows. Naruto looked at the screen and silently agreed. To him, it looked like someone had rammed a space station into a large asteroid, destroying most of it in the process, and then just continually added on. I guess the name fits, he remarked, having looked Omega up while on the way. The name the Alliance gave it came from the last letter in the Island Kingdom's alphabet. Yeah, they don't call it the Citadel's evil twin for nothing, Joker replied. And there's no democracy there either. Good. He looked back at the Spectre. How is that good? You just need to talk to one person to get your point across. He wasn't sure what to make of that. The blonde sounded like he was serious, but he could also say such things with a straight face. He turned his head back around to his screen. So, why exactly are we going to the rotten underbelly of the galaxy? He asked. I told you and the crew that already, Joker. Some of the other Spectres found a trail of money from one of Saren's aliases that led to Omega. Naturally, the Council wants to make sure that the trail doesn't lead anywhere, so they're sending in a Spectre to investigate. I get that part. Why exactly are we going to the rotten underbelly of the galaxy? They didn't tell me this mission personally. They just sent me a message telling me where to go, and what to do. If I had to guess, it was because I was the one who hunted him. Now that he thought about it, the council, minus Udina, almost seemed determined to make sure he took it and got off the Citadel. Yeah, let's go with that. He glanced down at his pilot. What's the matter, Joker? You've seemed a little grumpy ever since we left the Citadel. Joker looked up at him with a level look that bordered on glaring. I will have you know, Commander, that I had a hot date lined up for the day that we had to leave. I had to do some seriously fast talking to make sure it was put on hold. Then she'll still be there when we get back. I hope, he grumbled. Have some faith in her, man. In the meantime, try to find a place for us to dock. What do you mean, try? He was insulted by that implication. Naruto was already walking. Just find a place to dock, Joker. And send my team up to the airlock. Naruto, there's no need to be rude to your pilot, Matatabi chastised him. I was not being rude, he silently protested. I was making sure that the conversation didn't go any further. That's called being rude. Oh, I'm not having this conversation with you. What about me? Gyuki suggested. No, how about having it with me? Asked Isabu. I said no. Ooh, my turn. Shikaku declared. What part of no do you guys not understand? He asked as he stopped at the airlock. Kurama, aren't you going to say anything? Kokuo asked the Kyuubi. No, he answered. Well, I see where he gets the attitude from. I heard that, Naruto told the Gobi. You were supposed to. If it was a different time, and a little more private, he might have groaned loudly and rolled his eyes. Instead, he just snorted and waited for the rest of the team to show up. The first didn't take long to show herself. Hey Uchiha, he greeted Ashley. She came to a stop beside him. I really wish you would stop calling me that, Commander, she said. Why? You are an Uchiha now. He had kept his promise to her. A day after the meeting with the council, he had gone to Udina and told him to contact the Uchiha clan. Once that was set up, the first human spectre then all but ordered to tell the clan head and elders to bring Ashley's family back into the clan, along with some chastisement that he felt they deserved. To make sure they obeyed him, he called in a favor Sasuke owed him during the war. Ashley didn't know what he did until after she got a call from her mother, and was told that they'd been taken back into the clan, that they could bear the name Uchiha. Naturally, she had thought it to be some kind of very bad joke, until Naruto told her it wasn't. It still feels weird, she replied. For the majority of her life, her last name had been Williams and people looked down at her for it. But now, she was an Uchiha, a proper member of the clan. You'll get used to it, Naruto assured her. If I could have gone from a snot-nosed little brat that everyone looked down on to a war hero that everyone looked up to, you can surely get over the fact that you have a different name. She looked at her commander. The way he spoke was light and slightly self-mocking, but there was something else there. It was faint, and an untrained listener would not have heard it. But she heard the faint melancholy in his voice, saw the faraway look in his eyes. She realized that, despite the smart, confident, goofy, charismatic, sometimes knuckleheaded, sometimes absolutely terrifying image he gave off, Naruto Uzumaki was still a man from a different time and he missed that time. If you say so, sir, she said, not going any further than that. Thankfully for him, his melancholy faded when he saw Tali and Liara coming their way. Hey guys, he said to them with a cheerful smile. Since he didn't wear the sunglasses anymore, the smile reached his eyes and made them light up, which also made the three women in front of him avert their gaze. Commander, please put those things away, Liara told him, keeping her eyes focused on the floor. The smile faded somewhat but the light didn't leave his eyes. Huh? What are you talking about? I've told you this before, sir, Ashley chimed in, looking at the bulkhead past his shoulder. It's the eyes, they should be qualified as weapons of mass destruction. For the ladies, Komiai stated with something on its face could be qualified as a smirk. Oh, Shikaku said with a laugh. My eyes aren't that bad, Naruto protested. He knew that people had always liked his eyes when he was younger but this was taking it way out of proportions. He's right, Tali said. They shouldn't be qualified as weapons of mass destruction. Just mass seduction. Ah, the Quarian sees the truth, Kurama remarked from where he lay inside the blonde's mind. What the hell are you talking about, Fox? His Jinchuriki demanded. Gaki, if you had spent less being a workaholic and went out more voluntarily you would have had girls lining up around the block to date you, he mentally scoffed. Oh, come on. You've got to be kidding. I'm not. At that point, the ladies were interested in you just as well as Sasuke. Probably a little more since your reclusiveness added to your mystique, he said with the air of all-knowing. And how would you know this? The blonde challenged, wanting to puncture that air. You were with me the entire time. I know because I listened to what other people were saying about you whenever you went out. Did you ever notice how girls were either eyeing you or discreetly following you whenever you went to the store for groceries? He had no answer to that. That was because he had never noticed it. He was always trying to make sure he got everything he needed so he could get back to work. That had been the main concern for him near the end of the war, his work. "Hey mate, you still with us?" said Maya's voice, snapping him out of his silence. The swagman was standing by Liara. Gurus was also with them, hanging near the back. "Sorry, just got lost in my thoughts," he apologized. "You seem to do that a lot," Liara noted. "Well, I've got a lot to think about," he replied easily enough. But there was that hint of melancholy in his voice again. "Why didn't we bring Rex?" Gurus asked. Like Ashley, he realized Naruto was a man out of time. So it was best to change the subject. "Oh, what's the matter, Gurus?" Maya asked him with a teasing grin. "You miss your boyfriend?" He scowled. "He's not my boyfriend. I don't know, the way you two have acted with each other since we started hunting for Saren," Naruto said. "And there were the times he threatened to find a priest." The Turian turned the scowl to him. "I'm asking because he would have been perfect for Omega. All we had to do was let him take the lead and we would have been okay." "Gurus, you know why Rex left," Ashley told him. "The Krogan Battlemaster left the Citadel 2 days after the council meeting, telling them all he was heading back to Tuchenka to help bring the Krogan race back together. His plan for that was to do it by talking about the will of Krogan, or beat it into their heads, whichever one works," he amended. "I think I'm going to miss that guy," Tali remarked. "He was fun to be around with." "I think you've been hanging around him a little too much," Gurus told her. "His viciousness seems to be rubbing off on you. Just because I like to use my shotgun as a club as well as a gun doesn't mean he's rubbing off on me, Gurus," she replied acidly. "I am perfectly capable of doing something like that on my own." "I can vouch for that," Naruto remarked. "She tried doing that in our last sparring round." That earned him a glare from the Quarian. She remembered that spar just as well as he did, and she was still convinced her left leg still tingled. But before she could say anything, the intercom came alive. "Alright, we're about to dock with Omega," Joker's voice announced. "For those of you who are going ashore, we salute you and hope you come back with everything you left with." Naruto glanced at the cockpit. "Could you be any grimmer, Joker?" he asked. The ship docked and settled into place. He turned towards the airlock. Time to play the game. As they left the ship, they could already see how different Omega was from the Citadel. At least some part of everything they saw was dirty, and what was supposedly clean probably wouldn't last long. It also didn't take them long to meet one of the residents. "Ah, welcome to Omega," the Solarian that stepped in front of them said, greeting them with wide arms. "You're new here, aren't you?" "I can always tell." "Allow me to," he trailed off when he saw an armored Batarian approaching. "Oh, hello, Maklan. I was just, leave, Fargut." Now, the Batarian told him with a deep voice that had a threatening tone to it. "Of course, Maklan," he hurriedly agreed. "Whatever she wants." He turned and ran when the other alien took a step closer. "Blasted scavengers," Maklan snarled at the Solarian's backside. He looked at the team, more specifically at the blonde in the front. "Welcome to Omega, Commander Uzumaki." The shinobi went still. "You know me," he said, making it a statement rather than a question. He shifted his hands, keeping them close to his sides. If he moved fast, he could knock the rifle out of the Bataran's hand. "Of course," the Batarian replied. "We had you tagged the moment you entered the Terminus system. You aren't subtle as you think." "I wasn't trying to be." His teammates watched him went from cheerful to dangerous. If Maklan saw the same thing, he didn't show it. "Arya wants to know what brings the first human Spectre to Omega. I suggest that you go to Afterlife and present yourself to her. And since I have no idea where or what Afterlife is, why don't you lead the way?" he scoffed. "It's not that hard to miss. Just take the door to your right in this tunnel. You won't be able to miss it." He walked away after that. "Charming," Sun commented. "More like annoying," Isabu corrected. The team did as they were told. They found the door and went through into a large hall-like area. Directly in front of them was a large door with the word Afterlife glowing brightly. "So that's what he meant," Naruto said as he looked at the sign. He could hear music playing faintly beyond the door. "Should we go in?" Tali asked. "That's a redundant question, Tali," he told her. "We can't just stand outside here waiting for this Arya to come to us. We're in her home turf now." He walked forward with a confident pace, knowing full well that this was a place that the weak were pounced on like a cat going after a mouse. He saw the line for the door. It was long and an Elcor guarded the door. He walked past the line, heading straight for the door. The people in the line began to as they watched him. When he reached the door, It opened and revealed a man carrying a sword in his left hand. "Commander Uzumaki," the man said with a bow of his head. "I am Kojiro. If you will follow me, I will take you to Arya." "Lead on," Naruto told him. He turned around and walked back through with the blonde and his team following. He led them into a small corridor that had tables to the sides. Kurama looked at the walls, which were alight with holographic flames. "I can't decide if that's intimidating or just tacky," he wondered. "Better save that for later, Fox," he replied as the swordsman led them to the other door. Kojiro walked through it, and when they followed, they saw what afterlife was. "It's a club," Liara breathed out as she looked around while the music pounded away in her ears. The place was circular in shape and tables and booths lying all around the center of the room, which consisted of a large purple cylinder that she was pretty sure was a hologram, and a large ring around the cylinder. On the ring were Asari dancers who were doing moves on poles that would have made her blush if she hadn't been with Maya. On the walls were holograms that flickered between flames or sexual acts that would have made Jiraiya proud. "Damn, this looks like a fun place to be in," Maya said as she scanned the place. She saw everything: the music, the dancers, the deals going on in the booths, and the subtle hint of danger that was in the air. "On second thought, I'll go with intimidating," the QB stated after he looked around. "It works. Very impressive," Naruto said to Kojiro. "But I thought I was talking to a person, not a club." "Just giving you a minute to take it all in, Commander," the swordsman said with ease. "If you are all done, I will take you to where Arya is." He led them around to the other end of the club where a set of stairs led up to a private area. "She's waiting," he told the team, taking a position right next to the stairs and placing the butt of his sword on the floor. They all took a moment to look at the sword. At first glance, it had looked like it was a normal length for a sword. But now they saw that it was almost the same height as its wielder, who was by no means short, the hilt stopping a few inches above his shoulder. Most of the team had never seen such a sword. One of them had. "I had thought that only samurai wielded odachis," Naruto remarked. If that remark surprised him, it didn't show. But he did have a small smile on his face. "I'm impressed, Commander. Most people just assume it's a large sword." "It is a large sword," the blonde replied shortly. "I just know what kind it is." He walked past the swordsman, up the stairs. He found himself on a level looking up another flight of stairs to a sofa and an Asari. Guards packing a lot of firepower stood to the sides of the stairs, watching his every move. He took one step forward and the Asari spoke. "That's close enough." Every single gun the guards held was pointed at him the minute she was done speaking. His team responded, pointing their own weapons at the guards. Everyone knew it was a standoff. The only question was who was going to shoot first. The only person who hadn't made a move was Naruto, not even when the Asari jerked her head and one of the Batarians moved forward. "Stand still," he ordered, activating his Omni tool. Naruto barely gave him a glance before looking up to the Asari. "You're the one who wanted me to come to you and now you're scanning me?" he said to who he assumed was Arya. "I think you're sending mixed signals here." "You can't be too careful," she replied without even turning to look at him. "We saw the guns, but you could be hiding any number of weapons on you or in you." "Lady, you just made a mistake that could possibly cost you your life," he said, getting the guns pointed at him raised a little higher for better aim. He grinned like he saw something amusing. "But since this is obvious your first time dealing with my kind of people, I'll let you off the hook. Hell, I'll even give you a lesson." She turned towards him, moving her body slow and sensually. If he had been younger, his cheeks might have turned bright red at the sight before him. He knew it was an Asari standing there, at the top of the stairs, but he could not see the rest of her until she turned around. Her skin was the kind of purple he had seen daimyos and nobles like to wear. She wore a black bodysuit with bare patches, allowing her skin to be seen. Over the bodysuit she wore a white jacket. Both did more to emphasize her body than hide it. The markings on her face gave her an exotic appearance. The way she held herself screamed power and authority, as well as sensuality. This woman knew she had the power, that she was sexy, and knew how to use both. "And what would that lesson be?" she asked. His grin turned feral as he broke the Omni tool-bearing arm in front of him. The Batarian screamed in pain and clutched the broken arm, his noise drowned out by the club. The other guards moved to open fire, only to go completely still. Naruto walked past them, up the stairs to the Asari. He came to a stop once they were able to look each other in the eyes. "I'm a shinobi," he told her. "I am a weapon." She didn't react in any way he had expected. She just looked down at her guards and then at him again. "Very impressive," she said with more than a hint of sarcasm. "Now would you mind easing off your killing intent? Any more and you're likely to send my men into comas. How terrible for you, Sun said with more sarcasm. Naruto eases off on his intent, allowing the guards to breathe easy again. You hardly seem surprised at it, he commented. You don't get to where I am by flinching at every little thing that passes you, she replied. So you run Omega or something? She laughed lightly at that and gave him a look that sent shivers down his spine. What kind of shivers he didn't know. She looked out at the club. I am Omega, she declared. She turned back to him. But you need more. Everyone needs more something. And they all come to me. I'm the boss, CEO, daimyo, kage, or queen if you're feeling dramatic. It doesn't matter. Omega has no titled ruler, and only one rule. And what would that rule be? She stepped back and sat down on the sofa behind her, all hips and legs, especially when she crossed said legs. Don't fuck with Arya, she declared with a slight smirk. The only sound for the next few seconds was the music being pounded away throughout the club. The two of them just stared at the other, not moving and not blinking. I like it, Naruto said, breaking the semi-silence. I've got a something similar, but people just seem to keep forgetting it. What's yours? Never underestimate Naruto, he answered, returning her smirk. She motioned him to sit down. He did so, sitting down not far from her but also not too close. Now, what do you need? She asked him, her voice taking a serious tone but still sounding as sweet as miso ramen. Gaki, control your hormones. Kurama ordered his Jinchuriki. I know that, Fox, he replied. He shouldn't have been surprised that his hormones were acting up. He was sitting close to a woman, an Asari, who could very well have defined the phrase sex goddess. Fortunately, he had been trained by Jiraiya and that super pervert had a trick up his sleeve for a thing such as this. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, thinking of a still mountain pond. He held on to that image as he flexed his wrist. Within seconds, the blood that was flooding towards his loins changed course. He opened his eyes and looked at Arya. Her expression hadn't changed. I'm here to investigate something that Saren Arcturus left here. The council sent you, the savior of the Citadel, on cleanup duty? She asked. She seemed a little amused by the fact. It was about Saren, so they choose the one person closely associated with him on their side. Is that an explanation or an excuse? Do you know what he brought to Omega? He asked back, staying on topic. She looked out to the lounge, down at the dancers on the ring. Do you like what you see? She asked him. He looked down as well. The dancers must have noticed the attention because they put a little more effort in their moves. They are very graceful, he said to Arya, keeping his composure. Now that they had gone into a different topic, he had to tread lightly. Show too much interest, and she would think him easy to control. Show too little and she'd think that the dancers, and by extension her, were beneath him and would be insulted. Graceful, you say, she repeated. The look in her eyes told him that she knew that the game was being played. What about that one? She gestured down to a dancer just off to the right on the ring. Her name is Reina. She's been working for me for the past 8 months. I have it on very good authority that she has sent many a patron to the nearest private space with her moves on that pole. Did she just insinuate? Sun asked, making sure that he had heard it right. Yuki nodded. Yeah, I think she did. Damn, I don't know if I should be disgusted or impressed by how she put it. Would like me to send her up here? Arya asked Naruto. She smirked again, a little more dangerously. Perhaps she can give you a private dance. She was testing him, to see how he would react. He looked back at the dancer, watched her closely. No, there's no need for that, he told Omega's ruler, still watching the dancer. She's not here for the pleasure or excitement. She's down there so she can get paid. If I had to guess, she's barely getting by or has a younger sister, possibly a daughter. And from the looks of it, she would gladly take another position in the club that would pay just as well if she could. Arya was impressed, even though she didn't show it. And how can you tell all of this? Or are you just making these grand assumptions from out of nowhere? Take a look at her, the blonde told the Asari. She turned her gaze back down at the dancer. There's no joy in her movements, and she keeps looking at the bar or the booth directly in front of her. Is there anyone you know sitting there? She looked at the booth in question. My accountant. So she probably knows numbers very well and is trying to learn what she can about here from watching the accountant. When she's watching at the bar, she watches the bartender make the drinks, nothing else. I bet that if she had spare cash, she has a set at her home and teaches herself how to do it. Arya watched Reina for another before looking back at him. Interesting, she remarked, keeping her cool. He shrugged. Not really, it's just a matter of reading the person right. You sound like you have done this before, he scoffed. Do you think this is the first time I've seen a place like Omega? he asked her. My sensei took me to many places like this when he was training me. And one thing I've learned is that there are always people there who have nowhere else to go and are there for the money. I see. She knew her history. She knew who his sensei was, what he was famous and infamous for. Now will you answer my question? That smirk came back. What was that question again? She's baiting you, Isaba told the blonde. I know, he silently replied. Good thing this wasn't the first time he's done this. Do you know what Saren had brought to Omega? Of course. The man came to me months before and asked if I would mind him hiding something on Omega. I said that I wouldn't, and a few weeks after the Geth attacked Eden Prime, a shuttle piloted by a Sari loyal to Matriarch Benezia docked and led something down to one of the more tamer districts on the space station. Would you tell me what it was that was brought to Omega? No. She said it so quickly, like she was clipping a bush. He was silent for a moment as he looked at her. Is there a particular reason to that no, or do you just not like me? I didn't say I did not like you. But Omega is mine. I don't need to give a reason to you. It's because Omega is yours that I asked. I'm trying to be polite here and ask nicely because the way I figure it, the more information I get from you, the less likely I'll end up tearing this station apart looking for what that thing is, okay? She kept her eyes locked on his, searching for something there. She found it. You're serious. I'm just trying to make this all easier on everyone. You tell me where the stuff went, and I won't tear Omega a new one. Everyone's happy. The semi-silence that followed was filled with a tension almost thick enough to require a kunai as the two of them stared down the other. If that's your idea of being diplomatic, I would not recommend that you become an ambassador, Arya finally said. You are crude at best. He inwardly smirked. She was trying to insult him. She missed. I wasn't trying to be diplomatic, I was being polite, he replied. Now would you just please answer my question already? Benezia's people took whatever it was they were protecting to the Fumi district. Last time I checked, they had hired the Ronin and some of the Blood Pack, the human part of it, out to help with protection before leaving. If you want to find what you're looking for, just look for the mass number of humans with firepower roaming around. Thank you, he said as he stood up. It was a pleasure meeting you. A pleasure? She repeated, sounding amused. That's something I don't usually hear from people who want something from me. Then they're idiots. They should really be more considerate to a lovely young lady like yourself. Her eyes kept their watch on him. It sounded like he was trying to be flattering. Not the first time someone tried it. I am by no means young. She had been young when she first came to Omega, as a dancer just like Reina. That had been a long time ago, but he shrugged it off. Compared to me, you are. I hold the title of oldest fucking thing in the universe. I would hardly think that is actually true, considering that you were sealed for most of those years, she replied, making it sound like it was some big secret only a few knew. If I was alive, it counts. Simple as that. And how old would you say I am? The ruler of Omega asked with a challenging tone in her voice. People who tried flattering or seducing her usually got nervous or uncertain at this point. He just chuckled. Nice try, but I was trained by a lover of women, and one of the things he had beaten into my head was to never ask a lady's age. Her eyes hardened slightly at the implication. I am not a lady. You would do well to remember that. A faint blue aura began to cover her arms, showing she was on the verge of using her biotics to throw him out of the club. But he wasn't impressed or scared by the sight. The first law of Jiraiya, treat every woman you meet like a lady, with respect, he recited. But once you know them, treat them as friends. He started for the stairs, only to stop on the first step and look back at her. Can I ask you 2 more questions? She let her biotics disappear, moving past the would-be insult. Go ahead, she told him. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, looking out at the club. But he was looking at more than that. Do you care for the people on this station? Really, Gaki? Asked Kurama. You're asking that question right now. It has to be asked, he silently replied. No, it doesn't. There is a time and a place for that, and this is neither the time nor the place. Good Kami, when will you learn about timing? Hey, I've learned about timing. Not enough, apparently. The fox all but shouted. While the Jinchuriki and the Biju were having that mental argument, Arya was looking at the Jinchuriki. What a strange question, she thought to herself. No one had ever asked her that. But even if no one asked, she still had an answer. They live on my station, she told the human standing before her. What happens to them is their own decision, but they still live under my command. He looked at her. The confidence she had in her own power, both over Omega and herself, surrounded her like a cloak. Okay, he finally said. Thanks. He started walking down the stairs. You said that you had 2 questions for me, she reminded him when he reached the base of the stairs. He turned back to look at her. I did. I asked them both. He looked back at his team. Come on, guys, let's go. She watched as they disappeared down the second flight of stairs. She was a little confused by what his words. That is, until she thought about them. She smiled to herself. Well played, Commander, she acknowledged the blonde. He would be an interesting person to talk to again. Garka, she said to the Batarian that was still clutching his broken arm. Why yes, Arya? He asked, stuttering slightly because of the pain. Go see a medic about that arm, but take no Medigel for it. You deserve that pain for letting your arm get broken in the first place. Understood, he said, this time without the stutter. He turned to leave, only to stop when she spoke again. Before you go to the medic, send Reyna up here. I think it's time the two of us discussed her future here in afterlife. Okay, I think we're far enough away from her to say this, Maya remarked as they entered the Fumi district. That is one hell of a woman back there. You mean Arya? Naruto asked, looking back at the swagman. Who else would I be talking about? You do realize that she controls this entire station, right? Geras asked her. She could very well have just killed us outright. Still doesn't change the fact that she is one hell of a woman. I have to agree with you, Maya, the specter amongst them said, surprising them. You think so too, sir? Ashley asked him. Jiraiya had a word for women like her. It meant the pinnacle of female sexiness to him, and if I remember correctly, you didn't disagree with that word, Kurama reminded him. It was obvious to all who heard him that it was a jab. Unfortunately for the fox, his Jinchuriki didn't reply to it like it was one. Of course not, Naruto mentally replied. I may not have followed that super pervert in everything that he did, but I agreed with some stuff he sprouted. Why else would I list one of the rules he made up to her? You miss him, don't you? Yeah, a lot, he acknowledged. He would have given anything to have another idiotic argument with Jiraiya again. He still remembered their fights about mixed versus separate hot springs and other inane things fondly. You know, I have to admit I'm still a little surprised at you, Commander, Geras said to the blonde. That snapped him out of his mental wandering. What do you mean by that? He asked the Turian as they passed a small shop. The owner shouted his ware for anyone who could hear him. Given the general noise in the air, he only added to it. You've been trained by the man Earth's history remembers as the most perverted of perverts, and you are a virgin. I know it's been a while since you've told us that, but it still isn't making any sense to me. The Turian didn't really understand it the first time he heard the confession. They had been busying trying to stop Saren and all. Trust me, it wasn't for a lack of trying on his part. His face turned reminiscent. I don't think I've ever really forgave him for what he did on my 14th birthday. Then again, what had happened didn't really call for forgiveness. What did he do? Liara asked, images of torture and such things flashing through her mind. He knocked me unconscious and locked me in a room with two beautiful women. He didn't need to turn around to know his team looked surprised. At first, I had thought that I had been kidnapped and was about to be interrogated. When they told me that wasn't the case, I thought it was an escaping capture exercise. It was finally made clear to me when the elder of the two gave me a searing kiss that turned my face into a very impressive shade of red. That was also the point I realized I was only wearing my underwear. The others just stopped in their tracks and stared at the back of his head. He felt their gaze and looked back. What? He asked. Was that seriously the only thing he was going to say? So, what happened next? Maya asked. I tried kicking the door down, but it was reinforced. After that, I leapt out the window and ran through the back alleys still in my underwear. Took me 3 hours to find Jiraiya and he had assumed that I, done the deed. And you let him think that? Hell no, he instantly replied. I got into his face and told him off for the whole thing. He just stood there with a shocked look. Then he started yelling back, cursing me for my being an idiot, thick-headed, and anything else that filled that description. After shouting at each other for about an hour or so, he left, and I stayed put. He came back annoyed, but with my clothes. A bittersweet smile crossed his face. All I wanted for my birthday was a bowl of ramen. Yeah, like the super pervert was going to let you have that bowl after you had gotten off that ramen diet, Kurama remarked. Which he made you take as I remember. It had been 2 weeks since that diet, his Jinchuriki replied. I would have been fine. You really think he would have trusted you with ramen 2 weeks after the diet? He knew you, Gaki, so, instead of losing your virginity when you were given 2 women essentially on a platter, you leapt out the window and ran away from them? Liara asked, wanting to be sure that she had heard it right. In hindsight, that is a bit sad, he admitted. It's more than a bit sad, Sun told him. The team looked like they had the same opinion. Why didn't you do it? Maya demanded. Any guy I know would have jumped at the chance to be two women when they were 14, vigorously. I was 14, didn't have anyone to really teach me about sex until Jiraiya, and was more focused on my training than anything else. The blonde listed off the reasons. What about any other time? Surely, given the adventures he had been on before the Fourth Shinobi World War, women would have offered him that. He just shrugged his shoulder. Sorry, but to me, sex wasn't a pressing issue. He was always more concerned about bringing Sasuke back. What about the war? He looked confusedly at the swagman. What about it? What does that have to do with what we're talking about? Maya couldn't believe he had just said that. Oh, come on. The world was on the verge of collapse. Everything was going to shit. This day might be our last day. That kind of stuff. Now he was even more confused. Wait, are you seriously suggesting that because we were in the middle of a war that we might have lost, I should have slept with every single woman I knew? Given who taught you, I don't think that anyone would have faulted you for doing that, Matatabi told him. Well, not to that extent, but yeah, Maya answered. Can we please keep moving? Ashley asked the team. If we keep standing around, people will start giving us odd looks. They were already clogging up the corridor as it was. I think that's already begun, Gurus corrected her, looking at the people passing by. The species in Omega varied, but at that moment they were all looking at them with a weary and or suspicious eye. Those looks made Gurus reach slowly for his gun. Of course, there was also what Kojiro told him when they were leaving Afterlife. Mr. Vicarian, when you see Musashi again, tell him that we never did finish our dispute. It may have sounded innocent, but Gurus could tell that it wasn't. That sent chills up and down his spine. Naruto knew Ashley was right. They were just standing around. All right, let's keep it moving, he said. The eyes disappeared, for the most part, as he walked. His team followed him. Hey, you still haven't answered my question, Maya told the blonde, a little annoyed. Man, she doesn't give up, does she? Komiai remarked. Some people see that as a good thing, Gyuki told the Nanabai. What question? Naruto asked. Really, Gaki? Asked Kurama. The question about you, the Fourth Shinobi World War, and the fact that you didn't try to get any during it, she answered. Just by her voice, he could tell that she wasn't going to back down on this. No one had that attitude. If two people had a baby, it would have been caught in the infinite Tsukuyomi. With that danger looming over everyone's head, it was better to not being made than be made and potentially be caught in that jutsu. Okay, Maya could see the reasoning there. That doesn't mean people just didn't stop sleeping with each other, she protested. Yeah, but I wasn't. There just wasn't any time. Naruto, I have told you 1,000 times, you make time for it. Kurama practically shouted at him. Sir, with all due respect, that is something that you make time for. Ashley told him. See? She agrees with me. She can't even hear you. He replied sharply. That doesn't matter. Yeah, it kinda does. He stopped himself from continuing that argument, and focused more on what was being said out loud. That may be Maya, Ash. But I had a more pressing matter, finding a way to stop Obito. Sex was very low on my list of priorities, especially with what was going on. Yeah, the war, Maya said. No, not that. Now his team was confused. What else was there? Gurus asked him. He hesitated for a moment, not sure if he should tell this part of his life. It had been a little weird for everyone involved. Just tell them, Gyuki ordered him. It's been over 2,000 years. No one is talking about it. All right, he said back. I was in the middle of 2 love triangles during the war, he told his team. It felt like everyone who was around them heard that little tidbit of information, and he felt uncomfortable about it. For a moment, his team didn't say anything, they just walked in silence. He had a feeling that if he turned around, jaws would be dropped. As they turned a corner and got out of the way of most of the traffic, Liara finally spoke. I'm sorry, Commander, but could you please repeat that? It sounded like you said you were in the middle of 2 love triangles. I did, he replied. How did that happen? Ashley asked him, being just as curious as the others. Well, on the one triangle, there was me, Kiba, and Hinata. On the other triangle, there was me, Sasuke, and Sakura. It was a little weird, when I paid attention to it. When you paid attention to it? She repeated. Sir, how could you not pay attention to something like that? The war was a more pressing concern. Plus, I will admit that I was a little thick on the subject, ignoring it and thought of everyone as friends. It didn't hit me until later. And you also had help from Kiba and Sasuke when they cornered you and made you see what was going on, Kurama reminded him. Yes, thank you. I remember. That had not been one of his better moments. Just making sure, he said with an evil smirk. So, you were in the middle of 2 love triangles, and you didn't really pay attention to them because you were more focused on the war? Tali asked, wanting to be sure she heard everything right. Yep, the blonde answered. Was it resolved? At all? Probably not when I still there. No, he admitted freely. But there is some good news about it all. And what would that be? Gurus asked. He failed to see any good news. At least I know that they married one another with me gone. Sir, there is no other way to say this, Ashley told him. But what I've just heard from your lips about your life, it's just sad. Yeah, it is, isn't it? He agreed with a smile that was equal parts humor and sadness. And once you're forgetting a key point of that entire thing, Kurama told his Jinchuriki. He sounded very annoyed and angry. No, I'm not, Naruto protested. Oh, of course, how silly of me. You're not forgetting, you're omitting, the Kyuubi said, adding sarcasm to the mix. It's the same thing. No, it's not, and you know it. Forgetting is on accident. Omitting is on purpose. Once Sasuke and Kiba got you to see what the hell was happening, you ignored it for all it's worth. The only time you didn't is when they dragged it into your face again. Really? Asked Saiken. Oh yeah, and I've got the memories to prove it. While all 9 Biju took a look at the weirdness that was Naruto's love life, the blonde himself was still trying to find where whatever it was Saren had brought to Omega was. Next time, remind me that I need more than just the district the stuff's in to go on, he told his team. Duly noted, sir, Ashley said. Can't blame you for that, mate, Maya said. You were talking with that sexy Asari. I'm surprised you were even able to say a complete sentence. The blonde looked back at the swagman. Just because I can see that she's an incredible woman, doesn't mean that I would suddenly lose control of my ability to speak. No, that was when you were younger and the super pervert was dragging you into every red light district you two came across, Kurama said offhandedly. He and the other 8 Biju were busy going through the memories. Ashley looked ahead as they walked into a common area. Sir, we may have found what we're looking for, she said, getting the attention of her commander. What makes you say that? She gestured. They looked ahead and saw a big human, wearing heavy armor and packing just as heavy weaponry, and wore a horn helmet arguing with a Volus storekeeper. That's an Einherjar. If he's on Omega, he's a part of the blood pack. He's one of the disgraced. Her face twisted into something between a scowl and a sneer at the sight. Naruto looked at the disgrace like he was prey. Well, that certainly makes things easier for us, he remarked before walking right up to the blood pack member. Excuse me, the Einherjar turned, looked down at the smaller blonde. What do you want? He demanded with a growl. I was wondering if you could help me out. Get lost. Hey, come on. I'm just trying to find something that was left in this district. Look around. He turned back to the storekeeper. Naruto let out a supposed annoyed sigh, getting his attention. Look, I'm trying to find something that my friend left behind for me. He told me that it was on Omega and it was in the Fumi district, but that was it. And what the hell makes you think I would be able to help? You look like you've been living here for a while and I thought you would help out a fellow human. The Einherjar rolled his eyes. You haven't been on Omega for long, have you? No, of course not, Naruto answered. This is my first day here and I just found this district. Come on, he said in a pleading and whiny voice. Help a fellow human out here. Alright, fine. Just stop talking already, he smiled. Thanks, man. Just tell me the name of your friend. It was a Turian named Saren. Do you know the guy? The disgraced went still and looked more closely at the smaller blonde, seeing his whiskered cheeks and blue eyes. He swore loudly and reached for a large gun. Only he didn't get to it in time. Naruto grabbed his hand and forced him to the ground with it. I'll ask again, the specter said, his voice turning cool. His grip was tight, close to breaking strength. Do you know the guy? Fuck you! Spat the Einherjar. He tried to break free but his hand wouldn't move. Third time, do you know Saren Arcturus? He loosened his grip just enough. The disgraced noticed the change and took it. He broke out of the grip and surged to his feet. I'm not telling you anything. He turned and fled, running hard. Naruto smiled as he watched the man run. Just how he wanted. Weapons free! He ordered his team, drawing his guns. The rest of the team did the same as they took after the Einherjar. Ashley took the lead alongside her commander. Her eyes were alight with the Sharingan, and they followed the disgraced easily. He's taking a left at the next intersection, she announced. Thank you, Ash, Naruto said to her. He had momentarily lost the Einherjar in the crowd, but found him again at her words. When they took the left, the corridor in front of them was full of people. Do you still have him? He asked. Yes, sir, she answered, eyeing the crowd with precision. He's going straight ahead. Okay, time to get a little rough here, people, he told his team. Understood, Commander, Gurus replied for all of them. They began pushing through into the crowd, trying to get through them all while also trying to make sure that they didn't lose their target. It got harder as they pushed forward, mostly because the people there didn't like to get pushed and would push back at them. It was becoming a challenge to get through as things got rougher. You know, there is an easier way to do this, Kokuo remarked. Naruto knew what he was thinking. I am not going to open fire in a hall full of innocent civilians, he told the Gobi sharply. Shikaku sniggered. Considering where they live, I'm pretty confident not a lot of people on this station are innocent. I'm still not opening fire. Then just shoot the roof, Kokuo told him. That he could do. Raising one of his Black Hawks, he fired off 3 shots. The crowd hit the floor instantly. The only people who weren't on the ground with their hands over their heads were Naruto, his team, and their target. The Einherjar took off even faster. But now they had a line of sight. There he goes, the Spectre said, moving quickly through the crowd. Thank you for your cooperation, he told them all. You can go back to your lives once we're gone. Kurama gave his Jinchuriki a flat look. Thank you for your cooperation, he repeated. Don't start, Fox, he warned the Kyuubi. They chased the Einherjar through the district. They ran hard and long, and it was beginning to look like it was paying off. He's slowing down, Ashley announced as she watched him take another left. They were encountering less and less people in the way. That probably meant they were getting away from the business areas and more to the residential places, either that, or a quiet place for a killing. Keep on him, Naruto urged her. The distance between them was getting shorter with every step they took. At the pace they were going, they would be on him in a matter of moments. They burst out of the corridor, and into a tall structure-like area. It was shaped like a square, had many levels, and along the walls were many doors. It was clear that they had run into what could pass as an apartment complex on Omega. Then again, a normal apartment complex probably didn't have what could qualify as a small army milling around the commons. The Einherjar ran straight for that army. We've got company, he shouted for all to hear as he disappeared into the mass. They're looking for the stuff. The army heard his words, turned to the entrance, saw the small group standing there, and shifted into an attack position. Weapons were drawn and pointed at Naruto's team, with the front row taking a knee for better am. And that wasn't the end of it. All along the higher levels, guns of the assault and sniper rifle variety appeared on the railing, pointing downward. Wow, that's a lot of people, Shikaku commented. Naruto observed the army before him. The big humans with the horned helmets were Einherjar, which meant they belonged to the Blood Pack. But the rest of the humans looked to be both samurai and shinobi. He could see hands clasped in such a way that showed they were ready to start weaving hand seals. He saw kunai and shuriken being fingered and katanas being handled. But the most important thing he noticed that the samurai and the shinobi outnumbered the Einherjar, in a large degree. Gurus saw the same thing and realized what it meant. That's the entire Ronin mercenary group standing in front of us, he said. This is going to be a problem. At least we'll go down shooting, Ashley declared, her hands already on her sniper rifle. We may not even have a chance to draw, Tali protested. We are so dead. She didn't feel like going down in a blaze of glory. She still had to get back to the migrant fleet. Maybe not, Naruto told them. Do you see what I see? What I see is a lot of Ronin mercenaries and disgraced Einherjar standing right in front of us, mate, Maya told him. Yeah, but the Ronin outnumber the disgraced. So, I'm going to try something. Is it stupid? Kurama asked him. It's not only stupid, it's crazy, he answered. And there's no stopping me. Wasn't even going to try. He stepped forward, holstering his guns. Excuse me, he said aloud, surprising the mercenaries. Before we all start this fight, would you mind if I asked a few questions? He got a few grumbles and he took that as a yes. Thank you, this won't take long. Now, quick show of hands, how many of you know your shinobi history? As he expected, a lot of hands came up from the Ronin, and some even from the Einherjar. Good. Now another show of hands, who amongst you have watched the news lately? He asked. More hands came up from the Einherjar. All right, last question. He created the Rasengan and held it up for them to see. Do you know who I am? The reactions he was looking for came instantly. First there was momentary confusion, then there was recognition, then surprise, and then finally fear. Then the voices started. Holy shit, that's Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto Uzumaki? What do we do? What do you think we do? We shoot him. Are you crazy? It's Naruto Uzumaki. He could probably kill us without blinking. If we blink, he'd kill us in a flash. You idiot! That was his old man, not him. How do you know that he didn't learn his father's jutsu? Oh Kami, what are we going to do? I don't want to die like this. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? If we kill him, we'll become infamous. If we kill him, we'll have the entire alliance on our ass, you moron. It's Naruto Uzumaki. Oh sweet merciful Kami, we're going to die, aren't we? You're asking him? He's my superior. I want to live. Are you done? Kurama asked his Jinchuriki. This is getting both sad and annoying. Yeah, but it's also immensely funny. They're literally shaking in their boots at the thought of fighting me. Just get it over with already. Fine, you party pooper. He turned his attention back to the panicking mercenaries. He whistled sharply, cutting through the chatter. I'm glad to see you all properly know your history. Now, if you don't want to fight me, I can understand. He stepped to the side so the exit was open. If you leave now, I won't go after you, and try to keep it orderly. The people outside don't need to see confusion. The entire Ronin mercenary group looked at one another, and then took his offer. They moved quickly towards the exit. Naruto's team stepped out of the way so they could leave a little easier. It was a little amusing to watch. It looked like they wanted to run but forced themselves into a walk under the eyes of Naruto and his jutsu. Guns were disappearing from the railings overhead as the Ronin climbed down to the commons and leave. After they were gone, all that were left were the Einherjar, despite the fact that some of them had left too. Last chance, Naruto told them, holding the Rasengan up again. Walk away. A few more left at those words, but there was still some standing in the commons and on the rails. The standoff continued for a long couple of seconds, until one of the Einherjar activated his Omni tool. Activate emergency protocols, he shouted. Get them out. Get them. Shit, Tali. The Spectre shouted at the Quarian. She activated her own Omni tool and swiftly hacked the other one, cutting the connection. The rest of the team moved forward to help their commander, who had already smashed the Rasengan into the talking Einherjar's face, killing him. The force of being attacked like that sent the dead body flying backwards with the blonde still forcing the jutsu on the face. When it landed and the jutsu flickered away, he found himself surrounded by the rest of the Einherjar in the commons. He swung his legs up into a kick, pushing them back and giving him more room. Geras, Ashley, and Maya all took a knee and pointed their guns upwards, aiming for the people still overhead. Maya fired at the ones closer to the bottom floor while Ashley and Geras took care of the higher ones. The sounds of their shots continuously rang in everyone's ears. Liara and Tali, on the other hand, joined Naruto in fighting the Einherjar in the commons. Tali had already drawn her shotgun and engaged an Einherjar practically twice her size wielding a giant battle axe. While intimidating, she fought scarier things. She stayed close, inside his swing, and fired off shots into his body when she had the chance. It didn't take her long to kill him. Liara used her biotics to support, throwing them at an Einherjar trying to attack Naruto, sending him crashing hard into the nearby wall. Naruto nodded briefly in thanks to the Asari before burying a kunai in the Einherjar in front of him. The Einherjar on the commons were killed quickly, but the ones on the rails weren't so easy. Any help would be nice, mates, Maya told the others as she took a shot. Her target ducked away, making her scowl. They always did that. You got it, Naruto said, folding his hands into a hand seal. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Multiple clones appeared in plumes of smoke. They went for the stairs or just jumped straight up to the rails. Tali, where was that transmission being sent? To the top floor, the apartment closest to the emergency exit, she answered. Where does that exit lead to? It looks like a docking station with a ship waiting there. Kami, take it, he swore. Where's the emergency exit? On the north side. Ash, follow me. The rest of you, get up there as quickly as you can. He leapt upwards, landing on the side of the first-story balcony. Ashley landed beside him. The two of them kept leaping upwards, ignoring the fighting that was going on each level. They arrived at the top floor within minutes. There's the emergency exit, Ashley said, pointing out the exit to their left. The door closest to it opened and out came a couple of Geth units with weapons at the ready. Both shinobi opened fire before the units could even swing their attention towards them. Move up! Naruto ordered. More Geth were coming out of the apartment, guns pointing at them. You should probably back up now, Sun idly commented. Yeah, good idea, he agreed. Both he and Ashley back away but kept firing at the Geth. Guys, we may need you quicker than expected, the blonde said into the calm. Working on it, mate, Maya replied. Just because I can use chakra doesn't mean I can bloody leap up floors like that. Plus, there were the others to think about. Are you trying to help the clones? No, they are handling their end of the fight very professionally. He heard a noise on the other end that sounded like it was trying to be muffled. If it had been any other time, he would have paused. Instead, he just fired off a shot at a Geth unit. Was that a snigger I heard? He demanded. What are the clones doing? Getting rid of the mercenaries on the levels, like you told them to, Gurus answered. Is that what they are doing exactly? Well, perhaps. He fired off 2 more rounds, destroying a unit. That shouldn't have to be a complicated answer, Gurus. It should be a yes or no. Are they getting rid of the mercenaries? Yes. Are they doing that exactly? No. Oh, he was not going not to like what came next. What are they doing? Several of them are hanging the mercenaries by their legs over the rails and asking them if they really want to keep struggling, Tali told him. Once you listen to what they're saying, it's kinda funny. Just get up here, he told them, turning his attention fully back into the fight. I really need to keep a tighter control on my clones, but it wouldn't be fun if you did that, Shikaka said. He ignored the tanuki, focusing on the Geth. Pulling out a kunai, he breathed a futon jutsu on it and threw it at the Geth. It cut through 2 units. Ashley responded with the Chidori Samban, which took down the rest of the Geth. Are you showing off? Naruto asked her. We don't have time for that, sir, she replied. Even so, she had a slightly competitive smirk. He knew that smirk well. Sasuke had it too. They moved through the door. There were no Geth in the apartment. Seeing that they had no opposition, they swept the place, finding each room empty, except for the last door in the back. Naruto quickly considered what he could do. The others were still coming up, but he felt there was no time to wait. Signaling Ashley to cover him, he acted, kicking the door open. As it slammed into the wall, he stepped in with his guns at the ready. But what he found in that room was something he didn't expect.